Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the New York City Council hearing on the Committee on Higher Education, joint with Workforce Development. At this time, please silence all electronics and do not approach the dais. Again, do not approach the dais. If you need to fill out a slip and are testifying, please see a sergeant at arms. Thank you for your cooperation. Chairs, you may begin.
Good morning. I'm Councilmember Rita Joseph, Chair of the Committee on Higher Education. Welcome to our joint hearing with the Committee on Workforce Development, chaired by Councilmember Julie Wan. Today's oversight hearing is aligning higher education with workforce demand. Let me offer some background. CUNY and the New York City Office of Talent and Workforce Development work together in a variety of ways to ensure that students of all backgrounds leave CUNY with the skills they need to enter and succeed in the workplace, to ensure that all New Yorkers can access good-paying careers and that employers can access New York City's talent so they can thrive today and in the future. CUNY and New York City Talent have cooperated on two initiatives in the past couple of years: the Center for Youth Employment, Path to an Exclusive Economy, and Action Plan for Young Adult Career Success, and the Green Economy Action Plan. Both action plans lay out specific goals for achieving them. These strategies include planning for the establishing career-related academics and advising, career exploration, work-based learning, internship, apprenticeship, and transitional programming from college into the workforce for CUNY students and recent graduates. The strategies also look at the ways to involve more employers in partnership that make everything else possible. Our committee are looking forward to hearing how CUNY and New York City Talent have been working together to achieve the goals set in both of these action plans. Now this month, the Center for Urban Future published a report entitled 5 Ideas for How the Mayor Mamdani Can Bolster Workforce Development, which points out New York City is facing a two-sided affordability crisis. The report notes that rising costs are making life difficult for New York City residents, but just as consequential in breakdown on the income side of the equation, meaning that too many New Yorkers are unemployed or stuck in low-wage work with little opportunity for advancement. The report notes that despite New York City's many excellent career training organizations and CUNY's relevant career preparation programs, city investments in workforce development has lagged far behind the need. The committees are looking forward to learning about the report's 5 ideas for boosting workforce development, and we are pleased to have Eli Borkin, one of the report's authors, here to discuss those ideas with us. These are the Center for Future's 5 ideas: making a bold investment in workforce development through New York City Talent Development Fund, a career impact bond, a workforce AI readiness fund, or by tapping funds from rezoning, significantly increasing flexible outcomes-driven city funding and create new mechanisms to scale that work. 2, establish an economic mobility cabinet and workforce czar in City Hall to elevate workforce inside city government, coordinate workforce policies across agencies, and hold the systems accountable for results. Provide free OmniCard and day one childcare support for CUNY students and workforce training participants to boost completion rates, accelerate credential attainment, and maximize returns on public investment. 4, launch a major effort to recruit the next 100 employers to partner on building pathways into good jobs by expanding skill-based learning hiring, scaling employers' engagement, strengthening connection between CUNY, non-for-profit providers, and industry. Help scale up CUNY's promising but still small-scale career success programs, including CUNY Beyond, the Inclusive Economy Initiative, and CUNY 2X Tech to ensure that CUNY students doesn't just earn a degree, but also have strong career outcomes. The committee are interested in learning CUNY and New York City's talent reaction to CUF's ideas and their thoughts on whether and how they might be implemented. Now I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues on the Committee on Higher Education who are present. Councilmember Dinowitz, Councilmember Hanif, Councilmember Epstein. Recognize Councilmember Ariola, Councilmember Lewis on Zoom. Now I would like to thank Giovanni Piquant, my Chief of Staff, Julia Goldman Pickham, committee's senior legislative counsel, Regina Paul, the committee's senior legislative policy analysis, and Ali Stouffer, the committee's final financial analysis. Now I'd like to invite Chair Wan to give her opening statement.
Thank you, Chair Joseph, for your partnership on this important hearing. My name is Julie Won, and I have the privilege of chairing Council Committee on Workforce Development. I want to note that this is the first hearing of this newly established committee, and I'm honored to lead the work in this space. As Chair Joseph noted, today's hearing examines how we are aligning higher education. As Chair Joseph noted today, hearing examines how we are aligning higher education with the demands of New York City's workforce. CUNY serves 237,000 students across 26 campuses. For many of those students, CUNY is the single most important pathway to economic mobility. Its mission is to serve as a vehicle for the upward mobility of the disadvantaged. That mission is one this committee takes seriously. A recent report from the Center of Urban Future found that roughly 1.1 million working-age New Yorkers are unemployed, underemployed, or earning minimum wage. The market for entry-level jobs has dropped 37% since 2022. And the rise of artificial intelligence is beginning to reshape entire industries, which raises serious questions about whether the skills our students are learning today will still be in demand tomorrow. Behind each of these statistics is a New Yorker trying to build a career and support a family in one of the most expensive cities in the world. This committee exists to make sure that the city's workforce development infrastructure is working for them. We know that there are areas of real opportunity. The city's Green Economy Action Plan projects hundreds of thousands of green-collar jobs by 2040 in construction, engineering, management, and business. The Center of Youth Employment Action Plan laid out 15 strategies for connecting young New Yorkers to career pathways. These are promising frameworks, but these are only as good as their implementation, and today we want to understand what concrete progress has been made so far. I also recognize that for students to be appropriately prepared, they need to have professors who are adequately paid and receiving benefits as full-time employees. Specifically, this committee wants to hear from CUNY and New York City Talent about how they are working together to translate labor market data into curriculum changes and how they are measuring whether career learning programs are actually leading to good-paying jobs. We also want to understand what happened with the $600 million investment from the Green Economy Action Plan. I look forward to hearing from CUNY, New York City Talent, and each of our witnesses today, and to a productive discussion about how the council can support this critical work. Before I begin, I would like to thank the committee staff, Senior Counsel Alex Polinoff, Senior Policy Analyst William Hognick, and Financial Analyst Spencer Kund for their hard work on putting this hearing together. I also want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Caban on Zoom and Councilmember Virginia Maloney. I'll now turn it over to Chair Joseph.
Thank you, Chair Wan. I'd like to remind everyone who wishes to testify in person today that you must fill out a witness slip, which is located on the desk of the Sergeant at Arms near the entrance of this room. Please fill out the slip, even if you're already registered in advance that you will be testifying in person today. To allow as many people as possible to testify, testimony will be limited to 3 minutes per person, whether you're testifying in person or on Zoom. I'm going to ask my colleagues to limit their questions and comments to 5 minutes. Please note that witnesses who are here in person will testify before those who are signed in on Zoom webinar. We acknowledge everyone, right? Now, in accordance with the rules of the council, I will have the committee counsel from the Committee on Workforce Development administer the affirmation to witnesses from the City University and New York City's Office of Talent and Workforce Development.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Polinoff, Senior Counsel. Will all members of the administration today please raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony today, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good morning, Honorable Chairpersons Joseph and Wan, and members of the Committees on Higher Education and Workforce Development. Thank you for the invitation to testify today on the City University of New York's commitment to boosting the career success of graduates and delivering the workforce our city's economy needs in order to grow inclusively. My name is Lauren Anderson, and I have the honor of serving as the Vice Chancellor for Career Engagement and Industry Partnerships at CUNY. In this capacity, I report to the Chancellor and the University Provost, our Chief Academic Officer, and shepherd CUNY's work to boost career outcomes of all students, integrate career connections, including paid internships, into degree paths, expand effective non-degree workforce training focused on in-demand occupations, and help fuel the growth of public and private organizations across the city through connections to CUNY talent, expertise, and assets. This role is a relatively new one for CUNY. It reflects Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez and the CUNY Board of Trustees' deep commitment to elevating and prioritizing career success and workforce development at the highest levels of leadership. However, CUNY's mission to serve as an engine of economic mobility goes all the way back to our founding. In 1849, the Free Academy of New York, later known as City College, opened its doors for the purpose of providing a first-rate education to all, regardless of means or background. At its opening, founders noted that future students would come to CUNY seeking an education, quote, for the purpose of applying it to some useful vocation and not as a mere matter of curious information or process of intellectual discipline. In short, the commitment to propelling our students into rewarding professions that they and the city seek is in our DNA. Last year, CUNY campuses secured 7 of the top 10 spots on Wall Street Journal's Best Value Colleges, which takes into account alumni outcomes and student return on investment. Similarly, Forbes released their list of 25 colleges with the highest payoff, where Brooklyn College took the top spot for the first time, and CUNY had 8 colleges total, more than any other university system. Yet despite our successes, we recognize that CUNY is not yet living up to its full potential as an engine of inclusive economic mobility. More can be done to ensure our degree and non-degree programs are seamless pathways into the jobs that employers are looking to fill. To address this, the 2023 CUNY Lifting New York strategic plan set out bold goals to boost the employability of CUNY graduates. They include, by 2030, 75% of our Associate Applied Science, or AAS degrees, and bachelor's recipients will have a job offer at graduation, with 80% consistently employed after 1 year. It also charges CUNY with tripling our paid internship participation rates to 30%. Meeting this goal will require exponential acceleration, not just tinkering around the edges. Fortunately, though many universities across the nation struggle to find ways to ensure students transition to the workforce, we at CUNY are lucky. We've seen what works. For instance, we know that students who participate in paid internships are 3 times more likely to have a job offer at graduation. Students who meet with an integrated advisor or enroll in courses developed with industry are 2 times more likely to have a job offer at graduation. In academic departments that utilize career-infused degree maps, we see an up to 144% bump in graduate jobs. In academic departments with an industry specialist, 94% of reported jobs are aligned with the major, versus a 30% average across departments that do not have them. Yet these interventions only exist in pockets across CUNY. We must scale evidence-based solutions to reach all students where they are. Only 25% of CUNY students go to career services, but 100%, we hope, go to class. Campuses must integrate workforce connections into academic pathways. That's why this past October, in his State of the University address, the Chancellor announced CUNY Beyond, a new transformational effort to scale and integrate career connections into every undergraduate degree path. CUNY Beyond will invest in each of our 18 undergraduate campuses by 2030 to elevate, connect, and grow what works. We began in July with 4 initial campuses, Borough Manhattan Community College, LaGuardia Community College, Hunter College, and Lehman College, which together serve 55,000 students. The governor's FY27 executive budget provides CUNY with $6.8 million to expand to 3 additional campuses this coming July, and we're hoping to work with the council and the city to expand to additional community colleges in this wave. We are grateful to the Center for an Urban Future, CUF, which has included scaling CUNY Beyond in their recent recommendations to Mayor Mamdani, as well as to Robin Hood Foundation, who also called on the city to help us grow this ambitious initiative in their December mayoral transition playbook. The city's Office of Talent and Workforce Development has been an essential partner in meeting these goals. Its support and collaborative policy development provided the foundational building blocks for CUNY Beyond and many of our K-16 initiatives, which my colleague, Senior University Dean Andrea Sunachan, will discuss in just a moment. Just a few highlights include, in coordination with NYC Talent, CUNY and DYCD launched CUNY Career Launch, an SYEP-funded program that provides paid internships for 2,000 students each summer, with a focus on freshmen and sophomores. In 2022, CUNY and the City University of New York created the CUNY Inclusive Economy Initiative, or CIE, which builds on our successful CUNY 2X Tech collaboration to embed integrated advisors and industry specialists into departments. This initiative includes a focus, but not an exclusive investment, on in-demand sectors including healthcare, green economy, business and finance, and tech. Today, 5,300 students have been served by CIE, and 2,100 businesses have been engaged by the CIE Industry Specialist Network since spring 2023. Complementing the CIE campus network of industry specialists, the new Industry Support Hub at CUNY acts as a first stop for industry partners looking to navigate to any CUNY resources. 75% of inquiries focus on talent recruitment, 25% seek help with employer education benefits, access to faculty expertise, and other connections. Originally incubated by the city's Tech Talent Pipeline Partnership, Practitioners in Residence, or PERC, recruits and trains industry professionals from across the city to teach rapidly emerging in-demand skills. Adopted and expanded by CUNY to tech, business, and healthcare in 2023, PERC has recruited more than 75 companies, including LinkedIn, Etsy's, Barclays, Bank of New York Mellon, Google, Oscar Health, and Peloton to teach in our classrooms. Building on this success will not be easy. Tripling paid internships requires 32,000 more paid internships every year. Last year in New York City, only 11,000 to 12,000 internships were posted. Employers are a critical partner in this work. 31,000 businesses recruit from CUNY, and many of them, including members of the New York Jobs CEO Council, have made meaningful commitments to hire CUNY students. Just last fall, we celebrated 10,000 CUNY students hired by the Council's 29 corporate members. We need more employer partners to turn to CUNY, and in turn, we must make it easier for them to navigate to the talent they seek. This partnership will be necessary to continue to further align higher education with workforce needs. Thank you again to the chairs for the invitation to be here today, and to Speaker Menon for her support for the new Workforce Development Committee. I welcome your questions and an ongoing conversation on this important topic, and will now turn things over to Dean Sunachan.
Good morning, Chairs Joseph and Juan, and members of the New York City Council Committees on Workforce Development and on Higher Education. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today about CUNY's programs to advance access to higher education for all New Yorkers. It's an honor to be here representing CUNY as the Senior University Dean for K-16 Initiatives and Adult Pathways. In this role, I manage a portfolio of programs that create strong on-ramps to college and careers for young people and adult learners alike, helping New Yorkers save time and money on their path to a college degree and a career that pays a living wage. These programs reflect CUNY's deep investment in and commitment to our future students, and our understanding that we must work in partnership with public schools, city agencies, and community-based partners to reach our shared goals for equity and access. 72% of jobs nationwide will require post-secondary education or training by 2031, and the vast majority of jobs that pay a living wage will be held by workers with education beyond high school. The pathway to economic security for New York City students runs through post-secondary credentials that lead to in-demand careers. Preparing students to earn those credentials early, before they graduate high school, is one of the most powerful levers that we have to accelerate workforce entry and long-term wage growth. Our strategy begins with an opportunity to gain a meaningful head start, providing students with college credits that transfer to all CUNY campuses and the confidence to succeed in college classrooms. In 2025 alone, nearly 16,000 high school seniors graduated, having earned an average of 5.5 college credits, saving New York families millions of dollars in tuition collectively and giving these students a head start towards degree completion. College Now is the foundation of this work at CUNY. 19 CUNY campuses partner with 592 New York City public and charter high schools to offer college credit courses each year. In the last academic year, 31,000 public school students completed over 44,000 credit-bearing courses. Nearly 90% of College Now students successfully transfer all their earned credits to college. This early academic momentum translates into stronger completion outcomes. College Now alumni have a 13 percentage point higher 3-year associate degree completion rate and a 7% higher 6-year bachelor's degree completion rate compared to those at CUNY who did not participate. Building on the strong evidence that early college credit improves degree completion and therefore long-term earnings, we've intentionally aligned dual enrollment with structured career pathways through expanded workforce partnerships with New York City's Department of Youth and Community Development and New York City Public Schools, launching career pathway partnerships through Future Ready NYC, Work, Learn, Grow, and the Summer Youth Employment Program. Future Ready NYC is a partnership between New York City Public Schools, CUNY campuses, and employer partners that reimagines high school by integrating early college credit, industry credentials, and work-based learning in high-growth sectors, including healthcare, technology, business, and education. This year, 157 high schools have partnered with CUNY campuses to offer 197 career pathways. Each of these features a 2 to 3 course sequence aligned to in-demand jobs. The program has grown steadily, with enrollment rising from about 7,500 students last year to a projected 10,000 students in fiscal year 26. DYCD's Work, Learn, Grow employment program connects the power of early college courses to paid career-connected experiences. Work, Learn, Grow provides New York City high school students aged 16 to 20 who previously participated in SYP with a comprehensive 22-week paid opportunity to develop work readiness skills, explore post-secondary pathways, and earn college credit. Initially created by the Council as a year-round SYP extension, Work, Learn, Grow has evolved over the past decade into a true model of interagency partnership through collaboration with New York City Talent and DYCD. Last year, Work, Learn, Grow served 6,400 students, and we're projected to enroll 6,650 in this academic year. CUNY Reach builds on that by expanding the possibilities for linking paid work and college coursework through collaboration with SYP. Piloted in summer 2025, CUNY Reach integrates CUNY college courses in the summer with SYP experiences through career-ready SYP high schools. In its initial pilot, 3 CUNY campuses partnered with 4 community-based organizations to serve 53 students, demonstrating strong proof of concept to this integrated approach, and it's on track to expand this coming summer. CUNY Reconnect expands our work to New Yorkers at every stage of life, not just high school graduation. In fall 2022, with support from the New York City Council, we launched CUNY Reconnect to address a pressing workforce challenge. Hundreds of thousands of working-age adults who've earned college credits yet stopped short of completing a degree. At the core of CUNY Reconnect is direct financial support, nearly $7.5 million distributed to date to help students resolve prior balances, cover tuition gaps, and remove fees that stand in the way of enrollment. Since its launch, CUNY Reconnect has served more than 71,000 adult learners across CUNY. The return on investment for each degree earned is significant. 52% of these students are majoring in health professions or STEM fields, and another 20% are in business, putting these students on the path to high-demand, high-wage careers. Many of these students, beginning in fall 2025, are now eligible for New York State Reconnect, which covers tuition, fees, books, and supplies at our community colleges. CUNY Reconnect has graduated almost 6,000 associate degree students and over 7,000 bachelor's degree students. Collectively, Reconnect students will earn an estimated $16 billion more over their lifetimes than with a high school diploma alone, strengthening not only individual families, but New York City's workforce and economy as a whole. Thank you for your interest in this important topic and commitment to expanding opportunities for New Yorkers at every stage of life. From middle school students stepping onto a college campus for the first time, to high school students earning both credits and wages, to working adults completing degrees, CUNY is building an integrated citywide workforce pipeline. Your support of CUNY's efforts to scale and sustain these programs not only transforms individual lives, but ensures that the life-changing economic mobility higher education provides is within reach for all New Yorkers.
Good morning. My name is Douglas Perry, and I am the Executive Director of the New York City Office of Talent and Workforce Development, or NYC Talent for short. I'm joined today by Leah Hebert, our Chief Policy and Programs Officer, and Thoreba Eltom, our Director of Apprenticeship and Accelerated Training from our Tech Industry Partnership team. Thank you to the members of the New York City Council Committees on Workforce Development and Higher Education, Workforce Development Chair Juan, Higher Education Chair Joseph for inviting us to testify today. And thank you to the Council and Speaker Menon for establishing the new Committee on Workforce Development. We think workforce development is more important than ever, and we're thrilled that Council has provided this avenue for collaboration. I want to start off by introducing myself and the work of our office, as my team and I may be new to many of you. I joined NYC Talent in 2023, but I've been a public servant in the city for over 10 years. Over this time, I've seen that city government is at its best when it works collaboratively, creatively, and in partnership with New Yorkers and the organizations that serve them. So that's the lens I bring to my work here at NYC Talent, and I look forward to working with you all to move our workforce strategy and our city forward. The public workforce ecosystem in New York City is made up of more than 150 programs administered by more than 30 different city agencies and their many contracted providers. This includes the city's core workforce agencies like the Department of Small Business Services, the Human Resources Administration, and the Department of Youth and Community Development, and of course, CUNY. While each of these agencies focuses on its core mission and service delivery, NYC Talent's mission is to work with all partners across the system to ensure that the city's workforce development strategy aligns with job seeker needs, employer demand, and the changing economy. To effectively support New Yorkers, our workforce development system must not only be coordinated with higher education partners like CUNY, but with numerous other public and private partners. With NYC Public Schools, DYCD, and CUNY, NYC Talent empowers young people with skills and knowledge to access careers in their adulthood. We collaborate with employers so that workforce programs offered by the city are preparing for in-demand jobs, and we work with partners like the city's Economic Development Corporation and Department of City Planning, so public economic development investments lead to quality job opportunities for our residents. We also work with human service providers and agencies so that job seekers who face obstacles to completing a training or attaining a job have the support they need to succeed. Because of this complicated landscape, coordination and collaboration are core to the work we do through several specialized teams and strategic initiatives. NYC Talent has industry partnerships in healthcare, tech, and resilient infrastructure that work to support equitable sector growth and align workforce programming with employer demand. We have an apprenticeship accelerator that expands opportunities for New Yorkers to learn while they earn. We launched community hiring, which works to make sure that the city's contract spending expands access to career pathways for low-income communities. We also have dedicated expertise to make sure that New Yorkers who face particular barriers, including young people, people with disabilities, and older adults, are better served by the workforce system. A clear example of our evidence-based systems-level approach to workforce development is in our ongoing work on the Action Plan for Young Adult Career Success. This strategic plan, developed with CUNY, public schools, and DYCD in 2023, is built on two truths. First, we know that there is considerable overlap across the young people that participate in city services among the city's 900,000 public school students, 400,000 CUNY students, and the 100,000 young people enrolled in summer youth employment program each year. It is only practical that we coordinate to maximize our public investments in young people across organizational boundaries. This is done in recognition of a second important truth. Just like many of us here relied on a series of education, training, and social experiences to get where we are today, the workforce system needs to provide New Yorkers with a series of interrelated experiences to find career success. To build these opportunities for success, the Youth Action Plan prioritized strategies that included career-connected learning, career exploration opportunities, and paid work experiences. In plainer language, we want to make sure that young people have opportunities both in and out of the classroom to learn about career possibilities, acquire relevant skills, and experience what it's like to work, preferably while getting paid. In even plainer words, you can't be what you can't see, so we work to maximize exposure to these new opportunities. These strategies not only achieve more equitable outcomes when preparing young people for work, but also help them build the sort of social capital and networks that support any of us throughout our careers and lives. The Youth Action Plan has delivered initiatives like Exploring Futures, which in fiscal year 2025 provided 37,000 middle school students in over 470 DYCD after-school programs with opportunities for career exposure, CUNY college visits, and support with high school applications. The Youth Action Plan also informed many of the initiatives CUNY highlighted in their testimony, like Career Ready Work, Learn, Grow, and Future Ready NYC, and we're proud to partner with community to better serve New York City's young people. While these initiatives are administered by our agency partners, we at NYC Talent help innovate, coordinate, identify funding opportunities, and advocate to ensure ongoing progress towards our shared goals. Beyond these specific areas of collaboration, NYC Talent are longstanding partners in building a workforce system that advances economic justice. NYC Talent supports CUNY efforts to help students access opportunities to develop in-demand skills, acquire relevant work experience, and access supportive networks to maximize the value of their time at CUNY. One particular area of important collaboration is the city's CUNY 2X Tech program, which was launched in 2017 by our office in partnership with CUNY and SBS. CUNY 2X Tech increases the number of CUNY students who graduate with tech degrees and better positions them to attain jobs in the city's competitive and dynamic tech sector. It does this by hiring new computer science faculty, scaling curriculum innovations that are informed by industry and led by faculty experts, hiring new academic tech advisors for classroom to career advising, and by enhancing opportunities for experiential paid work-based learning. Since its launch, CUNY 2X Tech has reached over 15,000 students and scaled to 11 campuses, including an expansion to community colleges for the first time in 2024 at Borough of Manhattan, LaGuardia, and Gutman. CUNY 2X Tech's success helped the city realize the positive impacts that more career advising, internships, and industry-experienced faculty had on the outcome of CUNY students. This success informed how NYC Talent supported the subsequent launch of the CUNY Inclusive Economy, CIE initiative, launched in 2022. CIE expands internship and job opportunities for students, builds stronger relationships between industry professionals and CUNY campuses, and enhances CUNY's career development capacities in key sectors like healthcare, infrastructure, and business. In fiscal year 2024, CIE programming scaled across 15 departments and 8 CUNY campuses, serving 1,400 students. Students who attended just one career advising session made possible by this CIE initiative were twice as likely to secure a job opportunity compared to their non-participant counterparts, with full-time jobs secured after graduation paying an average of more than $65,000 per year. We're proud of CIE's success, and more so that the launch of CUNY Beyond in October of 2025 continues to build on this strategic vision. Where CIE is department-based, CUNY Beyond expands these workforce best practices into a campus-wide model, which will embed these proven tools across all of the college's academic programs. These efforts are emblematic of how the city is effectively aligning, piloting, evaluating, and scaling impactful workforce and higher education strategies to better support New Yorkers. In addition to the work I've outlined, NYC Talent collaborates with CUNY on programs for New Yorkers who are not seeking a degree. This includes the CUNY Nurse Fellowship Academy, launched in 2025 with SBS, which prepares the workers needed to teach the next generation of nurses, an early childhood educator apprenticeship program at CUNY's Professional Development Institute that supports advancement opportunities for these critical caregivers. We also work with CUNY to increase pathways to public sector careers. Through a partnership with our office, CUNY, and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, the city launched the Civil Service Pathways Fellowship. This program recruits CUNY graduates into 2-year fellowships with city agencies, leading to a permanent civil service title. We're currently working with our partners to expand and unlock new public sector pathways to support public school students and CUNY students. As you can see, NYC Talent works to coordinate and scale change across the city's workforce system, including in partnership with CUNY. Therefore, many of the themes from the Center for an Urban Future's recent workforce report are well aligned with our work. Perhaps most importantly, NYC Talent uncovered in complete alignment that workforce development is an important part of the affordability agenda and a key strategy for achieving economic mobility. To that end, our office, in partnership with the New York City Workforce Development Board, which oversees the city's federal workforce funding, has been engaged in strategic planning since mid-2025. This effort has incorporated labor market data, insights directly from job seekers, and feedback from over 200 public and private stakeholders, including training providers, community-based organizations, educational institutions, labor unions, businesses, philanthropy, and government. We aim to use the diverse perspectives of this expansive coalition to recommend enhancements to our workforce system so it is more effective, connected, and resilient. There's no denying that our economy and job market have undergone significant changes in the last several years. Too many New Yorkers are facing a high cost of living in a labor market where access to quality employment is increasingly competitive. But New Yorkers do not have to face this challenge alone. NYC Talent, CUNY, and many partners across the city, including our Deputy Mayor for Economic Justice, Julie Sue, are working together to deliver a workforce development strategy that is agile, industry-informed, and inclusive, so all New Yorkers can access quality jobs and have dignity in the workplace. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to your partnership and questions.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Wong. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. First question, how often do CUNY administrators or professors meet with New York City Talent to align their curriculum with current labor market trends? And what does the process look like?
Sure. So in addition to meeting with our colleagues at NYC Talent, the infrastructure that we've invested in through CUNY Inclusive Economy together means that there are industry specialists who are embedded at the academic level. So these conversations are happening continuously, and that's really important and by design, because the workforce evolves so quickly. With AI being deployed, companies themselves are from month to month figuring out what that workforce skill looks like, that we can't rely on a series of meetings on a regular cadence to actually give us all the information we need. Instead, industry has to be working together hand in hand with faculty and others and staff to be able to deploy the most recent insights into the classroom. So we do that in a couple of different ways. The CUNY Inclusive Economy is one example, but CUNY Beyond actually invests in a number of different investments to make sure that's happening. First of all, we invest in integrated academic and career advisement, which uses tools that include the latest sort of career milestones and information that's relevant to specific disciplines for every single student. Additionally, the CUNY Beyond initiative has a pillar on career-connected learning where we are regularly equipping faculty with the insights they need to be able to integrate career insights into the classroom. And then through employer engagement, we do have these regular touch points where industry specialists are embedded in departments building consistent relationships with employers. Because the way that curriculum evolves look really different in some disciplines versus others, and so you really need a hyper-local approach to that work.
So the engagement is ongoing. Is that what you're telling me? Constantly as the market is changing. What's the biggest trend that you're seeing now in talking to folks in the labor market right now?
Sure. Well, certainly AI is impacting every single sector of the economy, and it is changing so rapidly that it is requiring an ongoing conversation amongst many, many, many different disciplines. The thing about AI is that it is creating an environment where it is not only essential that we are making sure that information and skills are updated on a regular basis, but is even speaking to more value of ensuring that our degree programs are giving students the opportunity to apply something. As students can find facts through ChatGPT, the thing they're not going to be able to do on their own versus through a college degree is actually get a foot in the door somewhere to apply those skills. And so we're really thinking about not only how we ensure that students are equipped with the latest information on AI and how to use it to be able to enhance their own work and perspectives, but also making sure that they have the opportunity to be on the job applying things, because in this world in which AI is making it more difficult to enter into entry-level jobs, that's going to be a differentiating factor, is their applied experience.
So basically, are you also teaching them how to integrate it into that new career that, whatever, for example, teaching? I'm biased to that. So is that being taught and how to integrate it into, let's say, a teacher?
Yes, absolutely. So there are two approaches we're taking to ensuring that AI is integrated into students' educational pathways. One is by working very closely with industry, and we've partnered with many companies, including EY, JPMC, Amazon, et cetera, to launch a series of workshops that are actually taught by industry, because it's evolving so quickly that we need practitioners who are doing it daily to be the ones who are teaching students. Those are open to every single major, and in fact, there's a priority on students who are not advanced AI practitioners, who are not necessarily coming from computer science, who are coming from other disciplines, to be able to participate in those non-credit bearing workshops that industry is offering. Additionally, the second part of our approach is really to support departments in integrating this information. Right now, we have many, many faculty across CUNY who are working to be able to integrate insights into even general ed courses, but they're working in isolation, not always with the support they need. So our Office of Academic Affairs and our Dean of Technology and Computing is working with departments to ensure that there's a support structure for them to be able to integrate AI, no matter if it's education or biological sciences.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Pathway to an Exclusive Economy, an action plan for young adult career success, offers 5 goals, many which are directly relevant to the work that CUNY does in preparing its students for workforce. One of the goals is to expand career-connected early learning at every stage of a young person's journey, including looking at career-related academics, advising, career exploration, work-based learning, internship, and apprenticeship. So we want this in every entry point for the student's journey in your institution or coming to you.
Yes, correct. I don't know if you all want to comment a little bit on this?
Yeah, of course. So the action plan was a great partnership, and I think to echo Vice Chancellor Anderson's point of how much we work with CUNY, it is constantly, we're in constant communication. And I say the Youth Action Plan is emblematic of that partnership, not just with CUNY, but with public schools and DYCD. And so in 2023, that's when we had the action plan, and that work has been ongoing since then. So career-connected learning has been a key part of that. Exploring Futures program, as was mentioned in the testimony, is a great example of that program, of the partnership across the city.
And then I'll just add to that New York City Public Schools has really embedded career connected learning as like a key fundamental across over 300 high schools. So Future Ready NYC is one big piece of it that includes advising, work-based learning, financial literacy, and making sure that young people have post-secondary pathways and a plan in addition to work-based learning. There's also the career and technical education programs. There's learning to work. We've done a lot with CUNY and DYCD to expand the school-based SYEP as well. And then what we're finding in the data points that New York City Public Schools has put together through their key implementation metrics is that there's it's really having a great impact on young people. There's increased attendance for young people going to school. There's also higher GPAs. They're less likely to be chronically absent. But I think most importantly, it's just really reinforcing learning for young people and how that's connected to careers, reinforcing their love of learning and what they want to do, helping them find agency in what their career pathway is, and also just to be able to increase their own academic achievement.
Can you expand on the Future Ready program? So you mentioned there's 197 career pathways with 2 to 3 course sequences for in-demand jobs. So can you help me understand some of the 197 career pathways and the courses with examples of the broader areas they cover? And can you help me understand the year to year, what the costs have been for this program and what the increases have been, if any?
Sure. So the number of pathways is so high because the high schools participating. So there's 179 high schools that participate, and most of those schools are offering multiple pathways. So that's where you get that larger number. There's 11 different industry fields that each high school can choose from. So, for example, in healthcare, we have pre-diagnostic medicine, pre-nursing, or an EMT pathway. In technology, we have cybersecurity analyst, data scientist, or software developer. There's HVAC and decarbonization and our green pathway, human and social services, and 2 business pathways. Within each of those pathways, a high school student would take a sequence of courses that would begin to introduce them to that career and that major, and then go deeper into that over the course of the next 2 course sequences. And that would happen alongside what Leah just described with developing or opportunities for work-based learning, perhaps pursuing a relevant credential in that field, financial literacy, and other college and career advising. We share the costs of Future Ready with New York City Public Schools, particularly on the CUNY side. The costs are in the instruction of those college courses.
So what is the estimated cost year to year? And what has been the increase in funding year to year for the last 4 years?
I would have to get back to you on the overall costs of Future Ready. A whole set of those services are on the public school side and is funded through them. So I don't have the budget
Okay,
dollars
so
for
what
that.
I'm trying to understand is how has the program expanded year to year for the last 4 years? Have you seen an increase in students being part of this pathways program? And for the career pathways, who are the partners that do it other than the public schools? Because there has to be some sort of industry partner that are part of this with you.
Yes, public schools has a robust team that engages industry partners to create work-based learning opportunities at the high schools. CUNY, for this initiative, doesn't manage the employer partnerships, but they are in place for all of the participating high schools. The initiative has grown through additional funding that public schools has gotten. And on the CUNY side, we've really engaged in what are the ways that we can work hand in hand with our partner high schools to increase awareness and engagement for all families. So we do a lot of deep work on, for example, customized emails that go out to caregivers and students, letting them know, did you know you could take a free CUNY course while you're still in high school, making it really easy and seamless for them to enroll, and then partnering with the high schools on really integrated college and career advising.
So am I understanding correctly that there has been no increase in funding from CUNY for this program? Only from the public schools, from the
Both
New York
CUNY and
City
public
public
schools have
schools?
contributed increased dollars to increase the amount of college courses that we're offering. I don't have the budget amount for the full Future Ready initiative, which again happens, a lot of those other pieces happen on the public school side.
And do you do you have the numbers, the metrics of how many students have now increased year to year for this program?
Yes. In my testimony, I gave you the number for Future Ready that have participated. I think we're on track this year for 10,000 students in Future Ready this year. Last year was about 7,500.
Okay.
And that's in the CUNY credit-bearing course component of the initiative. So public schools, again, would have even larger number, looking at the entire student population of all of those Future Ready high schools.
Okay, because what I'm trying to understand is what the funding model should be for this program for it to increase so that we could have more students as well as more funding for this program to grow. Because even within the, within the coursework that you had named for the pathways, even for technology, those three that you named are not covering majority of the industry's current workforce of what the possibilities are within technology. Because you only said you only have three pathways of software
Currently,
development.
yes. Yeah, I think we would welcome a conversation along with our public school partners on what a growth plan would be for the program and what the cost would be to continue to expand it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Along those lines, as you mentioned earlier, anyone who's in P-Tech program, college now, early college, they're saving billions and billions of dollars by leaving school with college credits, or some of them with an associate and a high school diploma at the same time. So definitely would love to see how we can expand on that. Another goal in the inclusive economy action plan is to expand early intervention to ensure youth and young adults remain connected to pathways and are supported during transition from school to post-secondary work, including supporting from programs designed to improve retention rate, completion rate of college students, as well as improve transition into workforce upon graduation. And that's one of the things when we looked at the data, we saw that a lot of our young people leave high school, they don't stay. How do we get them to stay? How do we provide the support? And as you may know, a lot of them are first-time college students who they're first to go to college. They're immigrant students. How do we provide those supports, not just when they get to college, but before they get there?
So I think this is an example of the partnership that we have at DYCD Public Schools and CUNY, is making sure that we're thinking of the young people not just as one their point in time, but as a whole person who has ideas, dreams, goals, etc. And so we want to make sure that we're working with students at every stage and that we're thinking about what their future is. One of the things that is particularly exciting that our office partnered with multiple partners across the city is creating a new civil service youth apprenticeship title. And that is leveraging public school students, or not leveraging, sorry, having public school students have access to have apprenticeship experiences in city agencies. And an apprenticeship meaning it is paid, it is a job, right? And it has a pathway to a career. And we actually, in our office, have two apprentices who are here today. I don't want to call them out too much, but Kayla and Emily are great youth apprentices here. And programs like this are, one, giving that, like I said in my testimony, you can't be what you can't see, so giving exposure to what it's like to work for the city, but also making sure that they are informing the work that we're doing, and that informs the work across our entire office. And perhaps most excitingly is that many of these students, we're in year 3 of the program now. Many students, they start in their junior year, senior, now are in college, and so many of those students go on to CUNY, right? And so we want to make sure that we have a system whether they're experiencing something through SYEP, there's a touch point, or any of the programs throughout the city, that there's awareness and education around not just what is right here in front of you, but what is beyond it next. And so that's a really strong connection there.
And if I can add, in terms of transitions, CUNY and public schools have really done a lot in terms of innovation in reaching young people early. So I don't know if you want to talk about the CUNY welcome letters, but really welcoming young people when they're eligible for to go to CUNY, to make sure that they know that and have that information. And CUNY's also created college and career bridge programs that help young people both when they're applying for college, but then also making sure that they matriculate as freshmen. And we just know that the impact that peers have on other young people is tremendous. And then I would also, if our colleagues want to, I mean, the CUNY Inclusive Economy and CUNY Beyond are also looking at those transitions to make sure that CUNY students are able to engage in the labor market as early as possible while they are in college, so they can have a transition into the labor market afterwards.
And all that is being communicated at the high school level as well. That CUNY is a pipeline. This is your handoff.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to talk about that work that Leah mentioned. That's really about making sure earlier and earlier that students understand that the first day of high school is really the first step towards post-secondary and career. So in our Future Ready high schools, we're taking ninth graders on college tours, for example. Then building through college coursework that sense that they truly already are a college student. And again, tens of thousands of students are earning those CUNY credits while they're still in high school. And then at the fall of their senior year, they're getting a welcome letter customized via email to themselves and their caregivers. We're even pulling in the information we already have about those students if they've earned CUNY credits already, and what we know about their high school GPA to say this is the set of CUNY colleges that we encourage you to apply to. We have really great outcomes in terms of students receiving and caregivers receiving those emails, clicking them open, and clicking directly into the CUNY application. Then in May of senior year, every single New York City public high school senior is going to get a text message from their assigned CUNY college and career coach. These are several hundred CUNY students who've gone through an intensive training in all aspects of financial aid and matriculation and registration, who are then assigned to groups of high school seniors to reach out. And again, we're really leveraging what we already know about those students to say, hey, you've put in an application to BMCC, but we see you haven't yet finished financial aid or you haven't yet confirmed your registration. How can we help? We find that the highest response rates to those texts are the students who are low income, who are going to be the first in their families to go to college, or who from underrepresented minority groups. They have much higher response rates, and we see that we've closed that sort of gap in summer melt, that those students respond and then actually are about 7 percentage points more likely to then show up on their college campus in the fall than peers with similar backgrounds who did not engage with their coach. Speaking to what Leah was really referencing about the power of that near peer work.
And then the other, I think, important transition is from middle school to high school. And so with the high school selection process, this is young people are making these decisions with themselves, with their families, with their schools at 11 years old. And so making sure that young people, as we know too from research, that self-identity starts to form at that age, that they are exposed to as much as possible, both in terms of careers, in terms of post-secondary pathways, and the middle school visits through CUNY Explorers, but then also thinking about for high school, so the different high school opportunities, whether it's Future Ready or CTE, and getting that exposure. And some of the innovations that our high school apprentices, now college apprentices, worked with us on is making sure that we were setting up high school panels and having that peer-to-peer network. And so we had a series of events where we were able to work with young people in Summer Rising and then now after school through DYCD programs to be able to talk to other young people in high school to see what it's like to go through the different career programs there.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Councilmember Ressler. So, another goal of your inclusive economy plan is to improve data collection and analytic to support stronger transition, to promote continuous improvement, and to ensure that we address historic educational employment disparities. What specifically is CUNY doing to improve data collection and analysis? I love data collection, so that drives my work. So, would love to hear.
Thank you for the question. We do too, so that's great. What we've noticed over the last decade is that efforts to invest in career success of students are happening in very small pockets in very different places. The data collection is not necessarily systematized and connected. And that really needs to change for us to understand all of the different touch points that a student has with interventions that can help them actually move through their degree into a job. So we've done a couple of things to be able to improve that sort of tool. The first is we are working very closely through CUNY Beyond to lay out a set of metrics that we understand to be not just the KPIs that are laid out in our strategic plan, but also the leading indicators that help to drive student attainment of career success. Things like how often did you meet with an integrated academic and career advisement, or what kinds of career-connected courses are you enrolling in? From there, we are building, we have a prototype of it, but we're working to expand it, a dashboard that connects this information to outcomes data. So we rely largely on the wage record system that the State Department of Labor has that can provide us with the outcomes, the employment outcomes of students within the state of New York who stay here in New York. And to date, those two systems have not been connected, like our programmatic databases and that wage record database. So what we've done is pulled them together into one place. And through CUNY Beyond, which sort of provides us with this holistic 5-pillar approach to helping campuses scale up these practices, we're going to be able to connect each of these practices to outcomes, which is something that I think will be a really valuable tool.
And then I would just add that through NYC Public Schools, and they have the key implementation metrics that really is, it's partnering with New Visions for Public Schools, but really the intention there is to be able to get information to adults that are helping these young people navigate their different career pathways to be able to help them with that support. Add anything? Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Caban?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. I apologize if it's a little loud. I am sitting waiting for a tow because I've got a couple of flat tires, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to talk to y'all. So I wanted to ask specifically about NYC Talent and chairs. I can't see the clock, so please tell me when I've gone over time. Can you just tell me what you do with the data that you collect from the agencies? And again, specific for NYC Talent.
Yeah, sure. So we have industry partnerships that are dedicated across the tech sector, healthcare, sustainable infrastructure, and those teams work with industry, which includes the employers, the labor, and the entities that serve New Yorkers, right, to connect them to jobs. So the city agencies that do this work. Those teams also work very closely with our data and impact team. And so our data and impact team is keeping an eye on labor market data, and between the hard data, the conversations with the employers, and that is done through roundtables, constant communication, of being able to see what is happening now, right? What are the needs now? What are going to be the needs tomorrow? And then helping inform how programming is delivered to the New Yorkers through the programming that gets done at the agency level.
And, how many staff do you have?
We have 37 staff and 3 apprentices.
And do you currently have any staff for the Center for Youth Employment?
Yes.
How many is that?
We have 1 staff.
Okay, just 1.
Correct.
What is your total office budget? And out of that, how much have you raised in private funding?
So, like I mentioned in my testimony, the workforce system is very, very large and is strewn across 30 or so city agencies. There's 150 or more programs. And so much of the work that we do and then much of the funding is at the city agencies. Our office ourselves, we have a fairly small program budget because we help inform how city spend is delivered across the city agencies.
Do you have a number for that? And again, how much have you guys raised in private funding? Because my understanding is you do private fundraising
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, so in FY27, our program budget is approximately $2.7 million. And we have raised, I don't know if I have the exact dollar amount with respect to private funding tied to fiscal year, but we have raised some private funding, including funding that is supporting a lot of the work
Yeah.
around our office.
It'd be good to get an update on the amount of that private funding, because I'm also interested in, and I'm probably not the only one, but like, of the amount raised in private funding, for example, and then the overall funding that you guys get, how much was from your office directly versus was raised by each agency. I think those are good sort of points of information. But on the sort of the policy research and programming side of things, like what's happening with community hiring?
Yeah, so community hiring is a very exciting initiative. A couple years ago, we were able to get state legislation that authorized us to set workforce goals on city contracts. So that means if you're a city vendor doing business with the city, and that cuts across construction contracts, human services, professional services, standard services, you will need to have goals on your contract, and you will be required to make best efforts to hire low-income New Yorkers, including Nycc residents. And so that program we had a whole rulemaking process, and that went into effect, and then it's tied to city contracts. And so it's very exciting that it's up and running. We have over 200 procurements out already on the street. Many of those contracts are just beginning now to come online in terms of went through the full procurement process, was released, awarded, registered. And so those contracts are coming online now, and we're excited to make sure that we are connecting New Yorkers to those job opportunities, and that the businesses who do business with the city, they are coming to the workforce system, the public workforce system, that we're increasing the quantity and the quality of jobs that enter the workforce system. So we're really excited to be able to connect New Yorkers, particularly the low-income New Yorkers, where there will be workforce goals, on to employment opportunities with vendors who get contracts. And the scale is enormous, right? City spend, as we all know, is huge. And so we think once fully implemented, the community hiring program across the mayoral agencies can be around upwards of $20 billion a year.
Time expired.
Thank you, chairs. Can I get just 20 more seconds to
Go ahead,
ask
20
a couple
seconds,
data
go.
points? Thank you. Okay, great. So these are my questions. How do you share the labor market information with agencies, and how often does that happen? Because I want to know, do you support agencies with research? Do you directly produce reports? And is that done by staff or consultants? Those are my questions, and thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, so we have a relatively new data and impact team, and so we are working very closely internally with all of the our teams across the industry partnerships, the teams that serve people with disabilities, young people, to make sure that they have the information that they need. And we also share that information with agencies. And so we will be doing more of this work over the coming year. We know that we want to be out there talking to employers, analyzing data, and making sure that that information gets out to the public where appropriate, of course, as well as to all the city agencies. So we are helping inform the way that services are provided. I will also say that our office staffs, as I mentioned in my testimony, the New York City Workforce Development Board, and so we work very closely with the board, which is a business-led board, to share information with them that they can have to help inform how their oversight of the city's federal funding.
I'm just adding to that, that in the CUNY2X program that we manage, all of the curriculum design is informed by industry, and we bring those insights from labor market research and employer insights to just identify what is the current in-demand skills and emerging trend, and we bring that to the faculty that we work with. So for every CUNY2X school, we do that regularly, mostly like every quarter, to kind of go and review that, and we make sure that everything that their students are receiving are career connected learning that is brought by those insights from the labor market research and also employers.
And then I would just add too that our New York City Public Schools has different industry commissions, and our industry partnerships sit on those industry commissions and share labor market intelligence that they're hearing from the field as well as data.
And do you share that data? There's usually a disconnect among agencies, which I find is huge. And I just wish agencies would start talking to each other so the work can be done not in silos, but in collaboration.
We agree.
Okay. Councilmember One?
Thank you so much. The Green Economy Action Plan mentions leveraging $600 million in investments for youth pathways. How much of that $6 million has actually been allocated to CUNY to date, and how much to other entities? What has been the impact?
Sure. Thank you for the question. The Green Economy Action Plan included support for the development of both offshore wind and broader renewable energy and green economy occupations by providing over $10 million in capital for investments at CUNY campuses to help improve workforce preparation. We launched a competitive process amongst our campuses and identified 8 projects, including a net zero house, a decarbonization lab, and numerous other investments to be able to ensure that we have the actual spaces and places for students to be able to learn the skills they need for these in-demand occupations. These are across 6 campuses: Bronx Community College, Brooklyn, College of Staten Island, Medgar Evers, City Tech, and Queensborough. So those are in process right now.
Okay. One idea that in the CUF report is to make bold new investments in workforce development through New York City Talent and Development Fund, a career impact bond, a workforce AI readiness fund, or by tapping funds from rezoning, significantly increasing flexible, outcomes driven city funding, and creating new mechanisms to scale what works. What is your opinion of this idea, whether it would be effective to boost workforce development in New York City?
So, like I mentioned in my testimony, the workforce system is very big here in New York. Very proud of the size and scale, and appreciate Cuff's lifting up workforce development as being core to the work of the affordability agenda. And what was mentioned in the testimony, I talked a little bit about that the Workforce Development Board, which oversees federal funding, that is about like $90 million a year. I'd say in workforce development funding in the city is around $800 million. So there already is enormous city investment. Many cities, states across the country rely solely on federal investment. So there is already considerable investment in city investment in the system. I do think that a lot of the ideas of the Cuff report are aligned with the work of our office of how do we effectively use that funding, efficiently use that funding, and coordinate across this huge system, right? Like you mentioned, Chair Joseph, we want to make sure that everyone is talking to each other, right? And so that's really core to the work of our office to make sure that what is happening, whether it's with the youth side, on the adult side, talking to those groups together to making sure that that funding is effectively used.
So another idea in the CUF report is to establish an economic mobility cabinet and workforce czar in City Hall to elevate workforce development inside city government, coordinate workforce policies across agencies, and hold the system accountable for results. What is your opinion of this idea, whether it would work effectively to boost workforce development in New York City?
So I will say, I'm incredibly excited to be under the leadership of Deputy Mayor for Economic Justice, Julie Su. In my mind, she is essentially our workforce development czar. She has an incredible amount of experience between her time in California as the head of the Department of Labor, as well as being the acting head of the United States Department of Labor. And so we have right now at the highest level of city government a real strong advocate of this work, of the work that we're doing. And then our office, we help coordinate the system, right? We help understand what's happening across those 30 some odd agencies, help coordinate, help escalate, help elevate, help be efficient stewards of the city's workforce funding. And so I'm very excited about having the leadership of the deputy mayor to help champion that work. And I'm happy that CUF recognizes that workforce development is important, and proud of the work of our office.
How is CUNY Inclusive Economy Initiative different from New York City Talent's program on career pathways and its apprenticeship accelerator? Is there a competition for graduates or overlap between the programs?
So, no, I think a lot of these things are in alignment and are well synced. And so our apprenticeship accelerator team, in fact, actually has an apprenticeship program that is at the CUNY Professional Development Institute. And so that's a really exciting opportunity for building up early childhood educators. And so that's one example where we are working hand in hand with CUNY. And I think, you know, a lot of the work of our office generally is to help New Yorkers, and I can't think of anything more New York than CUNY, and so if we are helping CUNY, we are helping New York City, and that's really core to the work that we do.
If I could just illustrate how these things work together. So across CUNY, as part of the city's commitment on apprenticeships, we run something called college apprenticeships, which are the last semester of our applied associate's degrees are converted into apprenticeships. So they're credit-bearing time that students spend on the job with the intention of converting those into full-time employment. We have about 17 AAS programs that have the last semester serve as this kind of apprenticeship. When we first started to do this work with employers, we went out to students in AAS programs, which are designed to move directly into the workforce. They are not meant to transfer. They're just meant to go straight in. And we offered to students, hey, we know you're majoring in these degree programs. We know your intention is to move straight into the workforce. Apply for this apprenticeship program. We've made all these amazing partnerships with employers so that you can move straight into the job. And only 14% of eligible students applied. And when we reached out to them to say, you know, this is what you're coming here for, why wouldn't you apply to this? What they said was, we thought this was sent to us in error. We didn't think these companies wanted us to be the candidates to work in these places. What that speaks to is there needs to be a consistent drumbeat, consistent channel of advice, consistently reinforced message that these are the pathways and opportunities that are available to all of our students for the careers that they want to pursue. And that requires investments like the integrated advisors that we make through CUNY Inclusive Economy to be able to reinforce and ensure that students are taking advantage of these other opportunities.
Okay. My next question is, can you speak to the Workforce Development Board's management of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding? It's our understanding that historically it's been between 60 million to 100 million per year. Is there still the case under the current federal administration? And can you break down how those funding is being spent?
Sure. So as I mentioned, our office staffs the Workforce Development Board, and it is a federally mandated board, and in alignment with, like you said, Chair, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, WIOA. And so that money comes to the city. It's based on formula funding, which includes a variety of factors. And so, like you said, it does vary over time, but this year is about $87 million. And so generally speaking, that money is served through Department of Small Business Services, SBS. They serve the adult workforce, and then the Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD, for the youth services. And so that money comes in, and the Workforce One centers that you are familiar with that operated by SBS are run through WIOA. And so primarily it's through those two channels that the money is being spent. And I will say that, as I mentioned in my testimony, we just did a strategic planning process, or we're in the middle of a strategic planning process that was in partnership with the Workforce Development Board that was looking at many of the things that the Cuff report was touching on in terms of how is the city most effectively using all the workforce funding, right? In WIOA, there's innovation in the word, right? How can we be innovative, effective stewards of all the federal money, as well as the enormous amount of city money that is invested each year?
This is a separate topic, but I hear from my CUNY professors and adjunct professors all the time. And there's an incredible amount of frustration about how the majority of the workforce are adjunct and they don't get proper benefits and they don't have proper workforce development. So can you help me understand the state of CUNY, all of the professors who work there, and how they are constantly struggling to make ends meet because they aren't giving full tenure, and majority of them are forced to be part-time as adjunct professors who are underpaid for the amount of work that they do, and they're constantly struggling to see how they're going to make ends meet financially for themselves.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Last year, CUNY signed a contract with our PSC, the Professional Staff Congress, that included increases for adjunct faculty And we recognize that many faculty members at CUNY are adjuncts and that support is necessary for them. So that's why that was part of the priority of that contract negotiation
But
process.
what are we going to do to move the model so that you don't have a bunch of part-time professors who are trying to become full-time?
So what I will say is that CUNY is interested always. Our faculty are the heartbeat of what we do. They're in their classrooms. They are the ones who are working on the front lines with students to prepare them for not just what they're learning and the learning outcomes, but their careers in the future. So we are interested in being able to support more faculty. Many of our workforce investments, for example, CUNY 2X Tech, includes investment in actually full-time faculty lines to be able to create more opportunities for faculty to get in the classroom.
So how many full-time faculty lines have you increased from the last fiscal year, and how many will you increase by the next fiscal year?
I do not have that for you, so we'll have to get it to you afterward.
Because it seems like there's a structural issue with CUNY not allowing for faculty to become full-time, that you are, it almost seems intentional that you only want adjunct professors who are not going to make enough money or have proper benefits.
As I said, we are welcome the opportunity to hire more faculty at CUNY and are happy to follow up afterwards with these numbers for you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hanif.
Thank you, Chairs Joseph and Juan, and hi, it's great to see everybody. Before I start, I gotta say that I'm a proud Brooklyn College graduate, and yeah, I believe they create leaders. Okay, so I wanna understand access to immigrant adult learners, and I think this is for New York City Talent or CUNY too. For those who are coming with credentials from their homeland, when they're here, they're unable to practice in their field. What are there concrete pathways that you all are offering to ensure that their credentials match up, or how are those credentials being translated into employment in city government and non-city supported services?
Thank you for the question. So yeah, obviously that is a core to the work of making sure that all New Yorkers, including new New Yorkers or New Yorkers who have been here for a while, who are need that additional support, are connected. And so I know that the Department of Small Business Services, they have an NCLEX program that helps connect people who have a degree from a foreign country, get additional support they need to get their degrees.
So like I have a couple of people in my community who've come with backgrounds in media, and we're journalists back home and do really great work, which is why the Bangladeshi ethnic community receives news. But they should be providing for the city because they speak Bangla, they read and write in the language, and our translation services across the city still needs work. So I don't think that's a sufficient response. I am very interested in ensuring that our immigrant adult learners have a pathway. In particular, we've seen an influx of migrants, and they're doing a job that we're very privileged to have because they're delivering our medicines or food. But I don't want everyone to be stuck in survival jobs. Does New York City Talent address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is core to our work of making sure that all New Yorkers have access to jobs, not just.
So what's like a initiative?
Yep.
How does one come to you guys, or what do you do?
So I will say one example that is particularly exciting is a licensed practical nurse apprenticeship pilot. That's a pilot with 1199. It also is in partnership with Medgar Evers College, and it is funded actually through Robin Hood. And this is an example of upskilling current workers, right, who want an opportunity to grow in a career, to learn more, and to have on-the-job training, right? And then some of that, and like I said, they're getting their training through Medgar Evers, which is a CUNY program. And so this is one example of wanting to make sure that we're supporting workers and having opportunities to grow. And I say apprenticeships in general, that's a lot of the work that we are focused on, is a great model of paid
I don't
learn
have a
and
lot of
earn
time.
type model. Okay, sorry.
No worries. I want to end by asking, so you all have the pathways, but there are people who might not get the job, right? So what barriers are you coming across? Is it licensing, English proficiency, employer bias, disability? That's important to me. And then are other supports such as career coaching, licensing, exam prep, and transportation assistance available for both New York City Talent and CUNY?
So yeah, we want to make sure that we are supporting New Yorkers that have barriers to jobs. And so one of the things that we're excited about is this Pathways to Industrial and Construction Careers program, which is through a federal EDA grant in partnership with Human Resources Administration. And that's a program that allows funding for things like buying tools, Omni cards, and those supportive services that we know are incredibly important, because getting a job costs money often, right? And so there are a lot of important things that we want to make sure that we are doing to support New Yorkers, not just in the core, like connecting to a job, but what else do you need to connect a job? And I think the admin's affordability agenda is really in line with that, right? Childcare, housing, these are things that are not necessarily workforce development per se, but are incredibly important to making sure that people can obtain
Absolutely.
employment.
I want to just wrap, and then I'll let you guys from CUNY speak on your bit. It is incredibly important right now that the Office of New York City Talent be more at the forefront, given we are talking about the affordability agenda. And when you don't have a job, you can't afford childcare. You might have a job and you still can't afford childcare. So I'd like to see, I'd like to just better understand the numbers you all collect, or whatever data assessments you do, and then definitely we'll be pushing to make sure that you all are robust and you're reaching more people. I'm grateful I'm here, like learning about you all, and want to make sure that you know I'm a partner.
And
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that very much, Council Member. I mean, we're incredibly excited, and I mean that genuinely, of having a new Workforce Development Committee. Workforce development always has been important, remains incredibly important, and we're happy to meet with you and brief you and catch you up on the work that we're doing across the city, which spans many things, including our Center for Workplace Accessibility and Inclusion, which is dedicated to helping making workplaces more inclusive for people with disabilities, and that includes the city as an employer as well as private employers. And so happy to have this work. And I'll say, we're not, our fingerprints are on a lot of work, even if our name is not on everything. So even if you haven't heard of us in this or that, you've definitely seen some of the work, including some of the stuff we're talking about today. We also, have our Jobs NYC initiative that launched. That was led a broad spectrum of city partners across the entire whole of government. And that initiative now is in terms of like hiring halls, being led by SBS. We manage that website, and that's a front door for New Yorkers or job seekers or employers. So happy to have that opportunity, and would love to spend time with you and your team to catch you up on all of the work.
And I just quickly want to add also, we work very closely with our partner in SBS, and specifically for tech, we have a web development fellowship program that's been running for almost 10 years. And this program recruit directly from from CBOs that, including immigrant, as an immigrant woman myself, face those barriers. So thank you so much for highlighting that. So this program is working very closely to make sure that there is a targeted outreach for this population, and that they are aware about this opportunity, and that you don't sometimes need a degree. You can just get this extra upskilling and just being able to get the jobs. So they're actively working on that, and that's a model that we can leverage across other different industries.
I really appreciate that, and looking forward to connecting more.
Thank you. How do you do outreach for your program? You talked about a program, LPN at Medgar Evers. How do you do your outreach? How do people know that your program exists other than middle school? We're talking about young adults who may not be in high school.
Yeah, so that program in particular is a pilot program. It's small. So those were existing employees at One Brooklyn Health System. They were $11.99. So in that particular instance, they were able to get that opportunity through their current employer and union. I will say across the spectrum of workforce services, it really depends, right? Sometimes these are employers that we work with directly. Sometimes it's CBOs to help connect people. So it varies in terms of some of the outreach. I will say, like I mentioned, we have a Jobs at NYC website that is a front door for job seekers. And so that helps them connect with services that they might need or might be interested in. And then through the variety of workforce services across the city, whether that's through DYCD on the youth side, SBS on the adult side, Human Resources Administration. There are New Yorkers entering the system at a variety of different places. And so in terms of the connection to it, it will vary, but we want to make sure that there's that information available to everyone. And I think particularly, as we've touched on a bit, in terms of, knowing what's ahead. So talking to public school students about what's ahead potentially in CUNY, and that's core to the work too.
And when we talk about underemployed, what about the folks that don't have access to technology? And we know that's a real thing in this city. And when we talk about affordability, underemployed, how do we reach those communities that do not have that access?
Yeah, that's really important, right? We want to make sure that, especially as the economy is changing and how people find out about jobs has shifted. Like I mentioned, in 2024, the launch of the Jobs NYC hiring halls was a great example of looking at unemployment data and where there were disparities across the city and going to those communities and having hiring halls in person. We helped launch that along with many, many partners across the city. It continues through SBS. We also helped advocate in some baseline funding for that that is now being administered through SBS. So that's one example of doesn't require going to LinkedIn or Indeed or some website, but it's actually bringing employers across nonprofit, private, city government into communities, and then working with CBOs who serve those communities to make sure that that work is amplified. So that's.
Are you including faith-based as well into those conversations? That's one way to capture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a list of all of the CBOs that have been acted, but
We're happy
sure
to
that
discuss.
there are, and we're happy to get you.
Absolutely. Councilmember Epstein?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for joining us today. For the integrated advisors, how many integrated advisors per student do you have?
So right now, the integrated advising model has a student to advisor ratio of 200 to 1. So
200 to 1. So for every 200 students, there's one advisor.
for the integrated advising model, yes, but we have integrated advisors currently in 22 departments, so they are not everywhere across the system.
And so I understand what you're saying, that people who meet with integrated advisors are 2 times more likely. But if there are 200 students for every one integrated advisor, the odds for a student to be able to get to that advisor seems really slim, right?
Yes, absolutely. So to speak to that point, we know.
I don't have a lot of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So no, but how do we fix that? Like, how does CUNY fix that problem?
Sure, absolutely. So the answer is right now across CUNY, integrated advisors, as I said, there are 22 of them in different departments. Additionally, our career services advisors have ratios of up to 5,000 students for every one student currently, given our resources. To scale these humans individually at the 200 to 1 ratio would require an investment of over $300 million every single year. That's not feasible for us to be able to necessarily scale those humans. What we have to do is create through CUNY Beyond an anchor of enough of those integrated advisors who establish the practice for a campus and then can scale and retrain other academic advisors. Ultimately, the thing we're looking to do is make sure all academic advisors, not just these individuals who are hired as integrated advisors, are talking to students not only about academics, but also about careers through the use of tools, through retraining, and through the mandatory sessions that they have to have with
I
students.
appreciate what you're saying, but I think we have a problem that needs to be fixed by us. We have a problem saying students do better when they get support, but we don't have enough people supporting students so they can get better. Do you focus on, how about kids who are in ASAP or an EOP program? Do they have a higher percentage of students to advisors?
Yes, so ASAP does have a higher.
What is
have
that
roughly,
ratio?
I believe it's 150 students per every advisor.
50?
150
150.
for every advisor. Yes, which is consistent with the National Association of Advisors best cohort ratio
For
number
students who are in an ASAP program.
in advising cohorts.
So,
Period.
but not in an ASAP specific program. Because if you're an ASAP, you're a lower income student who may be a first time college student in your family, and so we want to give as much support to that family as possible, that person as possible, so they can be successful. We know there are higher ratios of kids who go through ASAP or EOP programs to be more successful in graduating. So don't we want a lower ratio so to help them become more and more successful?
So the ASAP model is a lower ratio than the current
But
advising
it's 150 to
models for
1, right?
Correct, which is consistent with national best practice and recommendations. What our challenge is that right now ASAP does not serve every student at CUNY. So we really have to make sure that in addition to the amazing model of ASAP and these amazing integrated academic and career advisement, that we are reaching every single student through their current academic advising, whether that's with professional advisors or faculty.
You're saying everyone who might be eligible for ASAP isn't accepted to the ASAP program, even though they might be financially eligible for ASAP?
I can't speak to that. All I can say is
It'd be
that
great to
ASAP
know
does not
actually, because
one of our
if there are kids who should be in an EOP program or an ASAP, but they can't get in because of some limitations or restrictions that we're putting on it, I think it's really helpful for us to know how do we expand ASAP, because it is a multi-service approach to getting kids through college. But also, we want to make sure that once they're in the program, they get the support so they can come out and be successful college graduates as well.
Thank you. It's, yes, a fabulous model, and we're very proud of it.
Yeah. So, can you answer the question or maybe get back to us about, are there people who are eligible for ASAP but aren't getting into ASAP because of limitations CUNY is putting on the program through numbers or costs?
We're happy to get back to you on that.
That would be really happy. So I appreciate that. And just on, I just wanted to go back to the talent on New York City for Talent about, you said you have one youth staffer, so one person's working. When you say youth, you mean what age population?
So I will say that the work of our office across, and again,
I only have like 30 seconds. So what age population for youth? Okay, thank you, Julie.
So it depends from we do a lot of work with New York City public schools, right? So all public school students as well as people who go through CUNY, which generally speaking is young people, but not exclusively.
What
So
age group does that youth person work with?
There's no necessarily specific age group that we're just dedicated to that we'll say, no, we cannot have.
So you're saying it's not like 14 to 22?
Middle school through CUNY, right? And so that's typically the
So you have one staffer focused on middle school through CUNY?
So we have our many staffers are working across the, help inform the work and the youth voice as well. And like I said, we have youth apprentices who help inform the work, whether that's in a youth dedicated space or not. And so we have a lot of staff that make sure that we're incorporating how this may impact youth, whether that's on...
So 37 staff, one focused on youth, but all the 36 help with youth as well?
I would say that youth, as well as the other populations, whether it's adult workers or people with disabilities.
Could you give us data about how many people in that 14 to 22-year-old population you serve each year versus adults 22 plus with the post-college population, so we can figure out who you're serving and how much attention you can put toward the younger population?
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to give you that data. And again, we work with the youth serving agencies, right? And so it's not necessarily in all cases us working directly to do those services, but helping support that work. And I would say it is core to, it's strewn across everyone in our office of making sure that youth are centered.
Yeah, we all want young people to be successful. We want them to finish high school, go to college, have a successful career, give back to the city that we all love. But I think there's sometimes gaps in that system that prevent people from being successful. And we want to close those gaps to create those opportunities. And I think sometimes I laud all the work you're doing. I know this is hard, but we need to know what's not working. I don't think we need to have a rosy picture of how things are great, because we know there are gaps. And I think that's important for us to hear.
Yeah, and we are very proud of the work of our office and the work of the city, but we also know that we constantly need to improve. And so, making sure that there is a workforce system that works for all New Yorkers, right? That we're not necessarily just constraining by we're going to stop serving you once you hit this age, but appreciate your recognition of the good work.
Thank you.
There's something we say in education: you should never be ashamed of your data. That data is going to drive your policy. That data is going to drive the work that you do. And that's one thing I know. As an educator, I've always take that with me, that I'm not ashamed of it. I know where my students are not good and where I need to work on. So that's kind of what my colleague is saying. What's not working? How can we come in to counsel and support those areas that have the gap? That's basically what we're saying. Am I correct, council member? Yes. Gotcha.
And appreciate that.
Council member Wong?
Yes, hi. The word SYEP was mentioned many times, a school-based SYEP, and I don't even have a script, so I'm just gonna ask. For a participant in your school-based SYEP program, they have to be already enrolled to the CUNY system. Is that right?
No, those are high school-based programs.
Or high school? Okay, so how does that work? They have to sign up with the CUNY as a project sponsor, right? Or what if they sign up with a different project sponsor, like, in Queens or Bronx, Staten Island? How are they gonna enter the school-based SYEP? Can you talk about that?
Yes. SYEP serves over 100,000 young people per year. And there's, out of those 100,000 slots, I think last year DYCD served 22,900 in school-based programming. Over 230 schools participate. And so if a young person is in that school, they can work with the school and the CBO provider to access those slots. But there's also other SYEP programs for either if the young person's not in that school or if the young person would like to participate in a different SYEP program. They have those opportunities and choices throughout DYCD's programming.
No, I understand that. Okay, let's say they stay in the high school for the summer to do SYEP. How is that relate to, say, getting themselves entering a CUNY school system? What is the connection there?
So we partner with the SYP program in two main ways. The largest one is through Work, Learn, Grow during the school year. So young adults who are in the Work, Learn, Grow program take a free CUNY credit-bearing course as part of their Work, Learn, Grow experience. And so that's open to all of the students who are in that pathway, and that's across multiple high schools. We have a smaller pilot that we started last summer that offers a CUNY credit-bearing course over the summer for summer SYP, where we partnered with 4 of the CBO SYP providers to make sure that opportunity was available to students who are working with those providers for this summer.
So they get college credit at the end of the SYEP program,
Right.
and they could use that when applying. Then they take these credits in any CUNY system. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and how many high schools are participating in this school-based SYEP?
230.
230. All right. No, I'm going to follow up with some other questions after this hearing. Yeah. My second question is from a statement from Lauren Anderson. It says that CUNY Industry Support Hub acts as a first stop for industry partners looking to navigate to any CUNY resource. Now, it's my understanding that we have private enterprises that either are too busy, that they don't have time or don't have anybody talk to CUNY. So I think quite often it's the college's job to reach out to them.
Yes.
I know like associate deans that travel in the tri-state or even all over the country, sitting down with private enterprises. What kind of talent are you looking for? And they would say, oh, we need AI engineers, we need people that do 3D printing, we need yada, yada, yada. And that associate dean will come back with a list. All right, these are the people that private enterprises are looking for. We got to get to work and prepare kids so they could get hired. So what I would like to know is what kind of work are you doing that? Because again, a lot of private enterprises, some of them may not even be interested in talking to CUNY, because they think, oh, we only talk to like certain top tier schools. Please talk about it.
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to. So The Industry Support Hub is not just a passive front door, but historically we have not had any single place for employers that were even interested in working with us to go to land to navigate our system. So that is what they serve from a both passive and proactive outreach perspective. Most recently in January, so just last month, they launched a Power Your Business with CUNY campaign that mobilized lots of our existing industry partnerships, including Goldman Sachs, TD Bank, 9 Energy, et cetera, to actually proactively reach out to other employers and suggest that they come to CUNY to work with us. But that alone is not sufficient. You're right. Colleges have to make that kind of proactive connection to employers. So that's largely what the CUNY Inclusive Economy and CUNY Beyond aims to scale, is investing in industry specialists at the campus level who can make proactive connections to employers. To date, that network of our Industry Support Hub and those inclusive economy industry specialists have proactively engaged 2,100 businesses in this work. That's not sufficient. We've set very big goals around increasing by 20% the number of employers that are recruiting from CUNY, which means 6,000 additional employers. So we're on our way by 2030, but there's more to do.
Yeah, again, somebody here mentioned the technology is evolving so fast. So a year or two down the line, they could be recruiting for very, very different talent, and your curriculum will have to adapt accordingly at a much higher pace than before. Sorry, one final question. I hope I have time. Let's say I want to study or not me, maybe there's a high school graduate who want to study engineering, civil, mechanical, electrical. It is my understanding they can only apply to one school, City College. Is that right?
That is not correct. We have
Not
engineering programs at multiple campuses.
Where are the other campuses?
We can get you a comprehensive list, but it includes both associate's degrees. For example, Hostos has an
Well,
engineering
4
program.
years. 4 years is only one place. Is that right?
No, College of Staten Island and New York City College Tech, New York City Tech also have various engineering programs.
4 years.
Yes.
Okay, no, because the feedback that I've been getting is that the CUNY system is not offering enough engineering programs, and when they apply, they're only so like 2 or 3 choices to choose from, and that might be an issue that you want to look at. That you might want to open up more engineering programs in other campuses.
Thank you. And also, we'd love your help in spreading the word about these programs. So we will get you a list.
Thank you.
afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. On that note, I want to just do a quick follow-up. What specifically is CUNY doing to improve employee engagement with CUNY programming to create accessible apprenticeship programs? Just wanted a quick follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 2 ways that CUNY works on apprenticeship programming. The first is through registered apprenticeships that are largely run out of our adult and continuing ed departments, which are done in partnership with the state. For example, Kingsborough's Maritime Technology Program is a great example. Many of those apprenticeship programs also bear college credit so that students can move directly into degree paths. So there's one, you can be an apprenticeship regardless of if you want to get a degree, but it will help you get there. The second strategy that we use, as I mentioned previously, is really embedding apprenticeships into our degree programs. So they are a standard part of practice for students who enroll in our AAS programs. Right now, we're at 17 of our AAS programs have that model in them. Basically, what they allow for is students, as I said, to work on during the last semester of their AAS degree on the job with the intention of converting into employment. We see that as really essential and necessary. We do see it as necessary to make sure that it is pointed at a particular degree path, though, that's meant to move into a job. So, for instance, we don't do apprenticeships at the bachelor's level because bachelor's degree recipients should be able to move into the workplace, and the more appropriate, like straight to job, work-based learning appropriate model is co-ops or internships. So just depending on the degree level, we have a different strategy.
And I also want to highlight the Civil Service Pathways Fellowship Program, which is an apprenticeship-like model. And that's a partnership that DCAS has with CUNY, a 2-year fellowship for recent CUNY graduates with a pathway to permanent civil service employment. And so this program has grown over time, but it's a great way that recent CUNY grads can get plugged into what it's like to work for civil service, as well as making sure that they're getting that professional development. So these fellows go through trainings that are hosted by DCAS and then have the ability to take a civil service exam as well. So that's an apprenticeship-like model of making sure that the city is helping connect CUNY students into civil service.
Yes, we know our agencies our skeletons. We need to fill them up with our city staffers. The Green Economy Action Plan focus on 4 industry sectors: construction, engineering, architect, management, and business. Are there specific bridge program at CUNY designed to move students into these specific sectors? And do they include apprenticeship as well? I'm sure.
So we do have many different types of programs that are targeting those particular types of occupations, whether they be degree-seeking programs or non-degree credential programs. As I mentioned before, I alluded to some of the projects that we're doing on the capital side to make sure our degree programs have the equipment and state-of-the-art pathways for students to be able to learn in the classroom what they will need to do on the job. In terms of direct pipelines to employers, whether it be through apprenticeships or work-based learning opportunities, CUNY Inclusive Economy actually as a focal area includes green economy roles. And so 3 of our departments have industry specialists who are proactively building connections in those occupational areas for students. It's variable across departments because different departments focus on different disciplines, but between them, yes, we are focused on that.
Thank you. The recent Center for Urban Future report entitled 5 Ideas for Mayor Mamdani Can Bolster Workforce Development, ideas directly related to CUNY. One of them is to provide free Omni card and day 1 child care support for CUNY students to boost completion rates, accelerate credential attainment, maximize returns on public investment. What is your opinion of this idea, whether it would work effectively to support CUNY students?
So we are very excited that our FY27 budget request includes $1.4 million to pilot, thanks to the encouragement of our Student Senate who are here today, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, a Omni program for students. Right now, the proposal is that it's split between state and city funding, and we very much look forward to working with the council and the mayor and the MTA to figure out how we would deploy that.
One of my colleagues had asked me, is CUNY also pushing for fair fares inside the campuses? Is that something that CUNY is doing?
I will have to get back to you on that.
Is to provide half fare for our lowest income New Yorkers. So that's one of the questions one of my colleagues asked. Another Center for Urban Future idea related to CUNY is to help scale up CUNY's promising but still small-scale career success program, including CUNY Beyond, the Exclusive Economy Initiative, and CUNY 2X Tech to ensure more CUNY students don't just earn a degree but also have a strong career outcome. What is your opinion of this idea and whether it could work effectively to support CUNY students?
We love it, and I know Eli Dworkin is here.
Yes,
Thanks to him for his advocacy for that idea. CUNY Beyond is designed to take what we know works already and has proven results for students to connect it, elevate it, and scale it throughout our entire degree path. That includes the CUNY Inclusive Economy model, so it was part of Beyond. We are very enthusiastic about scaling that. Again, we started with 4. We're looking to bring on 6 schools in the next wave starting in July and would appreciate the council and the city's support in making sure that our community colleges are part of that.
Okay, you hear that, Eli? You wrote the blueprint. Another idea from the Center for Urban Future report also is to launch effort to recruit the next 100 employers to partner on building pathways into good jobs by expanding skill-based hiring, scaling employer engagement, strengthening connections among CUNY non-for-profit providers and industries. How do you think we can make that work in this blueprint?
Sure, I'll take a first step. Would you like to, Doug?
Sure. I'll say that we know that employer engagement is core to workforce development. And so our industry partnership teams work very, very closely with employers, whether that's small businesses, startups. We also work with the local chambers, large corporations, as well as the organizations that help support them, like the Job CEO Council Partnership for New York City, and then specialized groups, labor organizations as well. And so, we want to make sure that New Yorkers have access to all sorts of jobs opportunities with all sorts of employers, and that we're hearing from those employers as to what their needs are, what they need today, what they need in the future. And so we do a lot of this work through our industry partnerships, through our apprenticeship accelerator team, like I mentioned, through community hiring. We are bringing more employers to the workforce system. That is, it's just getting up and running, but it is not a subtle program. It is, $20 billion of annual city contract spend. That means those employers are coming to the system. And so we're excited about that opportunity to bring an increased quantity, increased quality of jobs to the public workforce system. And so we agree in that employer engagement is core to workforce development.
And if I could just add to that briefly, we think that there's an incredibly valuable role for city leaders to play in asking employers to come to the table to do this work. And from our perspective at CUNY, as I mentioned before, our goal is actually 6,000 employers coming to our doors. In order to make that a reality, we do need to invest in the infrastructure to be able to engage employers. Unfortunately, it's not something that you can outsource to technology. Building those relationships that lead to hiring partnerships, and also the updating of curriculum and the development of students takes time, takes capital and human capital to be able to build those relationships, which is why we're very excited that in addition to this call for employers, there's also a call to scale the infrastructure for employer engagement at CUNY.
And that's why we're having this conversation today. This is our first stab at it. We want to continue this partnership. We want to continue this dialogue, especially along with Councilmember Wan, to make sure that we are meeting the demands. If we really want New Yorkers to stay here, they have to be able to afford to live in this city, and childcare has to be accessible, transportation has to be accessible. And one of my next question is, last September, this committee held a hearing on pathways for CUNY students into the art and cultural job sectors. The CUNY Art Initiative count one of its 3 goals, the integration of arts into CUNY curricula across all disciplines, not just disciplines in art fields. This initiative is part of ensuring all CUNY students have access to the arts and can therefore consider the art as a viable career path. As a time of hearing, there was not any timeline or place for implementing this work or measuring its effectiveness once implemented. Do you have an update? That's a very important sector, and I think we seem to sleep on cultural. I think there should be a stronger partnership. I know in public schools there is. When I was the chair, I made sure we baseline arts education into our budget because we know it's a career pathways, and we want to see how can you bring those things together.
Absolutely. So, and then I would welcome Andrea to talk about some of the work we do at the K-16 level. Absolutely. And coming out of that conversation, there was a lot of very helpful questions that the council asked us that we're still working to sort through in terms of integration into curriculum. What I will say is we do now have numbers that we didn't have at that hearing in terms of students who are participating in cultural core, the experience they have working in the cultural sector that CUNY is connecting them to, and how many of them stay in the cultural sector. So right now we have served roughly 1,200 students through CUNY Cultural Core, which is a paid internship program. And we have about 50% of those students have wage records associated with them from the state that we can see. Of those, about 30% of those students, after they graduated, went into the arts workforce. So we're excited to build on that. But certainly in addition to our academic preparation, we know that actually making sure there's like a clear linear pathway to those jobs is necessary through our internship programs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the arts are what make New York, right? I mean, I'm wearing a suit and tie right now, but I love concerts, I love theater, and I love that livelihood of New York. So I just appreciate you raising that as something that is really important. And we work closely with the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. They essentially run the industry partnership like type model that we have at our office. And they do have some post-production training program that provides participants with skills training, job placement assistance in like the post-production industry. And so that obviously is really important to make sure that the arts can continue to thrive here in New York because, it's, like I said, it's what makes New York, New York.
Yeah, it's a huge industry, and we want to make sure that CUNY is creating that pipeline to career, that they know there's possibilities, not just to see a show, but to work on set, right? To create set. Motion Pictures High School in Queens is a model. That should be where the pipeline is, their model. They are amazing. Also, at the September hearing, the committee learned that CUNY did not have a clear measure in place for tracking long-term success for CUNY Cultural Corp interns such as their post-graduation, placement, art, cultural careers. Do you have any updates on that?
Yes, that's what I was mentioning. So we do have the data now, and what we are seeing from the students that we have wage records on from the city, or from the state rather, that 30% of those students have moved into employment in the arts and cultural sector. One note about that, and the only 50% of students that we have records for, the wage record data that we get from the state is somewhat incomplete because it does not include job titles. So we really have no sense of the actual roles that CUNY students and alumni are occupying. We are working together with the state to explore what might be possible for building out those wage records, but that's also an area that we would love some help.
You're good? Okay, I'm going into my favorite subject. CUNY prepares many teachers for work in K-12, especially for work in our public school right here in New York City. What issue is CUNY facing in preparing graduates to enter the important sector of our city workforce? What measures of success do you use in judging your teacher preparation programs?
Yep, I'm happy to take that. Yeah, we are very excited to partner with New York City Public Schools to meet the growing demand for classroom teachers. One of the first hurdles that teachers face is the certification process. After they've completed their degree with CUNY, they then need to complete New York State certification to be hired by public schools. There's multiple kind of steps in that process, studying for those exams, paying for those exams. If students do that, start that process while they're still enrolled at CUNY, they can use their financial aid towards those costs. When they wait until they've graduated to start that process, it can prolong the time to, or even they can not have the funds to do those things. So we're really trying to close that gap and get more students in that pipeline before they cross the stage at graduation. We're piloting some new advising and support strategies to really get a higher percentage of students who are in line for graduation to start that certification process and go directly into hiring. We really assess the effectiveness of the programs through a few different ways. All of the teacher preparation programs are separately accredited in addition to our Middle States Higher Education accreditation. They are accredited by teacher preparation associations, right? So the campuses are looking at a pretty intensive and rigorous data process that also includes site visits and interviews. We track the retention and wages of education graduates. New teachers with CUNY degrees have a 17% higher 5-year retention rate in New York City public schools than teachers without CUNY degrees. So they're not just getting hired, but they're staying in those jobs. Our public wage dashboard shows that bachelor's degree students with education degrees earn a median income of $79,000 after 5 years, compared with $73,000 for CUNY's bachelor degree graduates outside of education. And for generally for education graduates, we see that at every stage, 1, 3, 5, and 10 years out, they have those higher median income. So those are really all the metrics that we are tracking to identify the success of that work.
Are you working with the city to make sure that we're also meeting the needs for shortage areas?
Yes, our teams work very closely together. The HR departments at New York City Public Schools and both our central office and campus-based leadership in the schools of ed are meeting very regularly and looking at a very granular level at the projected openings by borough and district, lining that up with
License areas as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I also just want to add that our office, through our apprenticeship accelerator,
You do teacher recruitment too?
well, so we have apprenticeship funding for 2 programs that are registered apprenticeships. So with the Kennedy Children's Center, that is for early childhood special educators, and so that's an exciting program. That is a state registered apprenticeship program, and that includes like credential certificates, getting that the learning experience and the paid work experience. And so that apprenticeship model is really, really important because it can, one, an apprenticeship is paid, is learned, it has a career pathway. And so through our apprenticeship accelerator, we're funding specifically early childhood special educators through Kennedy Children's Centers and CUNY Professional Development Institute. And so I think part of that work is really sort of making sure that the future of the city's childhood educators and educators generally are supported. So the apprenticeship model is a great example of that.
Well, thank you for that. We'll be talking more because that is an area of shortage across the city, and especially with universal childcare, we do need the workforce. So CUNY is going to be responsible for that workforce, and I think making sure that we have the apprentice and the teachers ready to go. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in touch with follow-up questions. I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recording as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms if you have not done so already, and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you'll have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic, aligning higher education with workforce demand. If you have written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to Sergeant at Arms. Now I'll call the first panel, Eli Vorkin.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Eli Dvorkin. I'm the Editorial and Policy Director at the Center for an Urban Future. Let me start with some good news.
Okay.
For a change, maybe. You know, CUNY remains the single largest and most effective engine of economic mobility in New York City. And today, CUNY is doing more than ever to align education with workforce demand, from expanding work-based learning and employer partnerships to launching initiatives like CUNY 2X Tech, the Inclusive Economy Initiative, and now under the umbrella of the broader CUNY Beyond effort. But the labor market is changing faster than ever, and the scale of the challenge has grown. Far too many students still struggle to translate academic achievement into strong career outcomes. For instance, just 2/3 of CUNY graduates are employed within a year after graduation. Many earn less than a living wage in New York City today. 1 in 10 alumni end up in retail or food service even 5 years after graduation, rising to 13% for community college graduates. And even graduates who enter high-wage fields sometimes earn only half the median wage of peers in the same industry. And they are graduating into the toughest entry-level job market in years, if not decades. Since 2022, our research shows that entry-level job postings requiring little to no experience have plunged 37.4% in New York City, and internships are down by a similar 37% compared to before the pandemic. At the same time, only 12% of CUNY undergraduates report completing a paid internship. And that's far below the national average of 57%, although there's been progress on that figure, but still a long way to go. In this environment, career success should be embedded across the institution, or this economic mobility engine could stall. To CUNY's credit, momentum is building. Chancellor Matos Rodriguez has made career success a central priority for the institution. Last October, the university launched CUNY Beyond, a system-wide effort to make career-connected learning a core part of every student's experience. And as part of that work, CUNY has embedded industry specialists in some departments, has been able to expand paid internships up from 10% to 12%, strengthened employer partnerships, and grown initiatives like 2X Tech and the Inclusive Economy Initiative that are starting to bear fruit. And these early results are really promising. Participating departments report higher internship participation, stronger job placements, higher starting wages. But these efforts today still reach only a tiny fraction of students. The Inclusive Economy Initiative currently touches, for instance, just about 9% of CUNY's 450 academic departments. If CUNY is to remain the city's most powerful engine of upward mobility, city policymakers should help scale what's working and help the university adapt more quickly to a changing economy. The council can play a decisive role. First, we recommend making a major public commitment backed by funding to scale career success efforts across CUNY. This means expanding the Inclusive Economy Initiative, building campus-level capacity by hiring more of those academic career advisors, renewing and expanding proven efforts like CUNY 2X Tech, and replicating that model in other sectors, growing the practitioners and residents corps deeper into healthcare, business, and professional services, and setting a clear goal, ensuring that at least 30% of students complete a paid internship or work-based learning experience before graduation. Without a measurable target and the resources to meet it, tens of thousands of graduates will continue leaving CUNY each year with degrees but limited work experience. Second, invest in the infrastructure needed to manage employer partnerships at scale. CUNY has begun piloting a system-wide CRM platform, but philanthropic dollars alone cannot bring it to full implementation. Today, separate campus systems lead to duplicative outreach and missed opportunities with employers. A fully scaled CRM will allow undergraduate campuses to coordinate engagement, track outcomes, and present a seamless face to employers. Third, expand paid internship capacity directly. A pay-it-forward revolving internship fund seeded with city dollars and repaid when employers hire interns full-time could dramatically expand subsidized placements. Today, CUNY can fund only about 20% of campus requests. Demand far exceeds supply. Fourth, lead by example. City government is one of New York's largest employers, yet remains an underutilized launchpad for CUNY talent. Agencies should significantly expand CUNY internships and create clear internship to employment pathways. These are all tangible steps that the City Council could advance through budget and oversight. But action should go beyond scaling career success at CUNY alone. To better align higher education with workforce demand, workforce development should be elevated as a core affordability strategy. And that should include making a bold new investment in workforce development through a New York City Talent Development Fund, Career Impact Bonds, Workforce AI Readiness Fund, or by tapping funds from rezonings to scale what works. Establishing an economic mobility cabinet and workforce czar to coordinate policy across agencies, and recruiting the next 100 major employers into structured partnerships like the Jobs CEO Council, which could be done through challenge-based procurement or other tools, not for government to do that work, but to incentivize public-private partnership to bring that kind of work to the next 100 major employers in New York City. And the stakes could not be higher. The city leaders have rightly made affordability a top priority. Strengthening career success for CUNY students should be central to that strategy because boosting incomes is just as important as lowering costs. And CUNY is generating momentum, but without sustained city investment, infrastructure, and accountability, it will be difficult to meet the demands of this moment. With bold action from the council, CUNY can transform career outcomes for tens of thousands more New Yorkers each year and remain the city's most powerful engine of economic mobility. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. We always speak the same language. Thank you. So my first question, in your report entitled 5 Ideas for How Mayor Mamdani Can Bolster Workforce Development, did you have any discussions with CUNY or NYC Talent about issues you've addressed or about your recommendations?
Yes, absolutely. We sat down with many of the folks that were just here up on this panel before we published that report, discussed some of these ideas with them. And as you heard, there was really strong support. Maybe some of the pieces that are easier for me to say than potentially for colleagues in government to say are that, first of all, CUNY needs that investment to be able to expand what's working. It's not possible. CUNY's gone through a difficult, several year period now, as you well know, with proposed budget cuts, the council's pushed back. But ultimately, CUNY needs more resources to be able to execute on this strategy. And as you heard, only a few thousand students right now are benefiting in an institution that serves 250,000 or more. So there's a long way to go to take what's working and make sure that it's embedded across the university and to scale up those programs. I think on the NYC Talent side, part of what we're calling for instance, with the idea of more flexible city investment in what's working, is that so much of the investment that we have in the city today is in programs that aren't necessarily able to meet the full scale of the need because delivering those programs that really work isn't cheap. And unfortunately, many of the programs that we have in New York City, they're funded at a level that's just insufficient to actually deliver good outcomes. The programs that often deliver the best outcomes are piecing together, in some cases, very little to no public money with the constant challenge of raising private dollars that can actually fund programs at the level of that's needed to deliver good outcomes. So part of what we think is missing in terms of the city's investment, look, the city's overall investment through key workforce agencies in adults has actually declined over the past decade. The city is investing more in youth, and obviously that's critically important. It needs to continue, but there's a real gap when it comes to flexible, outcomes-driven funding for adult workforce programs that are sufficient to actually meet the costs of delivering an effective program. And that's the part of this that's a little harder potentially for folks, that are in government to talk about. But the research makes it abundantly clear. Without that kind of an investment in building capacity for programs to deliver good outcomes, we're going to see programs that continue to receive some public funding that fail to meet those outcomes, and other programs that are really meeting the mark, that are delivering excellent outcomes, are expanding outside of New York City rather than in New York City. So there really is a key challenge there when it comes to actually putting the flexible city dollars into the system to complement and support innovation and getting to the level of funding needed to deliver the best possible outcomes.
So I hear a couple of things here. Comprehensive has to be comprehensive from our youth all the way to our older adults. Our young adults, and investments in programming, investment in capital investments as well. So the council got work to do, and we shouldn't be doing this work by ourselves. It should be a partnership across the city. In writing your report, what discussion did you have with employers here in New York City, and how would you judge their support for your 5 ideas?
Yeah, look, I think right now employers still find it very challenging to navigate this system, which really isn't a system. It's an ecosystem, you could say, but it's incredibly disparate and disconnected. And employers struggle with that. Many employers, despite all the great work that's happened in recent years, still don't really know what is out there in New York City when it comes to partnering with CUNY or the city or nonprofit organizations to develop the talent that they need. Now, we have all these great examples of where those partnerships have been forged, and Lauren Anderson mentioned the Job CEO Council, 29 of the largest companies, not only in New York City, but in the world, that are partnering very effectively with CUNY right now and hiring their graduates. That's real progress, and that's just since 2020. But that's 29 companies, So I hear Lauren's goal about 6,000, companies. Part of what we're talking about with our idea of the next 100 is let's focus on the big companies that aren't part of those 29 or aren't one of the very largest companies that are already tapping into these pathways. There are ample opportunities for that in New York City in particular. No other city in North America has as many large companies that aren't yet at the scale of those 29, and reaching more of them, 100 of them, let's say, could open up thousands more career pathways for New Yorkers in a time when we need that. But employers need that partnership. They need an intermediary that can help them navigate this complicated system. They need some handholding sometimes to be able to understand given my different talent needs, where's the right place to turn? Is it an adult workforce training program? Is it CUNY? Help me understand which of the 26 CUNY colleges is the right fit for what I need right now. CUNY is working on that, but I think historically it's felt like you want a system where there's no wrong door. And I think for a lot of employers historically, it's felt like there's no right door. The portal that Vice Chancellor Anderson is talking about is a step in that direction, but it's really forging those one-on-one relationships that brings employers in. That's why we think this bigger initiative, like a challenge-based procurement, to create to encourage an existing intermediary to reach out to the next 100 major employers and bring them in as part of the solution, as well as investing in things like those critically important hybrid academic career advisor roles at CUNY, where they're doing the proactive outreach to employers, and the CRM system that CUNY needs so that they can understand, hey, there's somebody at LaGuardia Community College that has a strong relationship with that hospital. So it's not helpful if they're receiving, 30 emails from other colleges. They have a relationship there. Let's make sure we can build on that relationship and share it across the university. That's a tech problem as well as being a bandwidth, a capacity problem. CUNY's taken an initial step with some philanthropic funding to get there, but an infrastructure investment is needed to help bring that to scale across the 26 colleges.
Yes. You mentioned the council a lot, in quite a few times you mentioned the council. So what do you see the role of the city council navigating for implementation of your 5 ideas, supporting that implementation financially, legislatively, or in other ways?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that question. I mean, first, I think a budget ask here would be to invest in taking CUNY Beyond to the next level. CUNY, the good news here is that CUNY is packaging together supports that have been proven to work and has begun the process of implementing that across CUNY, but the scale is vast and the resources aren't there to be able to take it to scale.
without a new level of investment from the city. So I think one key step in the right direction, and as Vice Chancellor Anderson mentioned, the governor has put in a few $1 million to help support this effort. But absolutely, the city of New York should come in, meet the state, at least meet the state halfway, and potentially go beyond that to ensure that that critically important work is able to scale across CUNY. But I think there's a couple of other areas where the council's already played such an important role. We mentioned heard a little bit earlier about the ratios of advisors to students at CUNY. And Councilmember Epstein, I think, was sort of surprised to hear, the best we can do is sort of 150 to 1. But the reality is that for many colleges, the reality is 900 to 1, 1,000 to 1, 1,100 to 1. Those are realistic ratios for students that aren't part of the ASAP program or the ACE program. So one other very specific recommendation there that the council has championed in the past is let's take those programs to scale. Now, ASAP is getting close. It's reaching about a third or so of community college students every year. Clearly, there's still room to grow, but by comparison, CUNY ACE, which provides the supports of ASAP for senior college students, is reaching just 3% of CUNY students currently. So bringing CUNY ACE, which provides those very same supports, to the scale of ASAP is a really specific thing that the city can do that would dramatically improve access to advising, to supports like an OmniCard and support with technology costs and books, and ultimately boost graduation rates. The one other thing I'd mention is, I think there's a real role for the oversight function of the council here. I mean, understanding, and I heard Executive Director Lipari talking about, there's already coordination work that NYC Talent is doing, absolutely. But currently, the city's workforce development dollars and functions are spread across about 24 different city agencies. Those agencies report to 4 different deputy mayors. So while it's certainly encouraging, or we'll see how our new deputy mayor for economic justice positions workforce development within her portfolio, but the reality is much of the workforce development work that the city engages in happens outside of Deputy Mayor Sue's portfolio. So I do think that one kind of important recommendation there was the need to elevate that work to the highest levels of city government. I think the council can play a key role there, either by helping to create that role or certainly through the oversight function to make sure that we're having a conversation about economic mobility that includes CUNY, as you are today, that includes K through 12, that includes adult workforce training and youth workforce development, and understands that that is spread out across many different branches of city government, and it doesn't all filter back up to one deputy mayor, and that's part of the challenge. And then just briefly, I think the last thing I would say is the council has been supportive of MetroCards for students, obviously through Fair Fares and directly to support that at CUNY. To me, that feels like one of the most practical things the city council can do to boost outcomes at CUNY and for workforce training programs more broadly who don't have, those participants don't have access to the supports of an ASAP or an ACE. But putting an OmniCard into a participant in an evidence-based workforce training program's hand or a CUNY student's hand is a measurable benefit when it comes to boosting completion rates and ultimately helping them access that critically important first job. And it's an area where the council's shown its spirit in the past, and it's a major opportunity, I think, to align with our mayor around taking one of the biggest barriers, affordability challenges that CUNY students and workforce development participants face, which is getting around the city, taking that burden off of their plate and making it easier for them to be able to persist and succeed in CUNY and workforce training.
Thank you for that. And I see USS's shaking their head, and that was something we worked on with.
Shaking their head, no?
No, that in agreement.
Shocked.
That was something we worked on with Councilmember now Epstein. The way we modeled the OmniCard in making it 4 rides, 7 days a week, 365. That was one of the barriers we removed. I know there's some students who were left out. We're working on bringing them in, but I do think CUNY is something I'm also advocating to see. And one student stopped me at an event. It was like, Councilmember, I know what you did on the K-12 level. We need this up here on CUNY level.
Absolutely.
So we
many
definitely
CUNY
need to work on it.
Coming from our K through 12 schools, that's a support that you have as a high school student in New York City. And it's one of many things that gets stripped away when you get to CUNY. But your circumstances haven't changed. It's not like you've suddenly got all this income, disposable income, and the ability to spend more of your free time working. But those supports fall away, and they're in many cases not replaced. So it's such an important action that the council's taken, and
we are working with my colleague Assemblymember Hyman on that issue together to make sure that CUNY is getting around the city. Thank you so much, Eli. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I
much,
look forward
Chair.
to working with you.
Absolutely. Anything we can do to help. Thank you.
The next panel, Rhoda Wilson, Hakeem Polak, Benjamin Wade, and Demir Shakovo. If I mispronounced, I just couldn't read it. Okay. All right. You may start.
Okay, I'll start. Good afternoon, Chair, um, on the Higher Education and Workforce Development Committees. My name is Akeem Polak, Chairperson of the University Student Senate and CUNY Trustee representing more than 240,000 students across 26 campuses. CUNY has always been a ladder of opportunity for working class and immigrant families, but today, a degree alone is not enough. Students are not enrolling just for a diploma. We are enrolling for economic mobility, stability for our families, and a chance to build something better than what we inherited. In 2004, the Center for an Urban Futures CUNY on the job report highlighted that CUNY's growing role in workforce development. Since then, workforce participation has become the central to CUNY's mission. I agree with our chancellor that CUNY is not only about just getting a degree, but about what happens after the degree. So the launch of CUNY Beyond reflects that shift. Integrating career connections into every stage of a student's academic journey is the right direction, but we must be clear about what is truly best for workforce development within our campuses and beyond them. Within campuses, workforce development must be structured, not optional. Career advisement must connect measures to real labor market outcomes. Internships must be paid and accessible. Employer engagement cannot be limited to occasional job fairs. It must be embedded into curriculum, into classrooms, and into credit bearing experiences so that every student graduates with practical exposure and real connections. Beyond campuses, we must strengthen the process of seeking jobs itself. For too many students, navigating applications, interviews, and hiring systems feels disconnected and unclear. We need defined pipelines into high demand industries, coordinated recruitment efforts, and employers who see CUNY as a talent partner. Workforce development should not end at graduation. Employers must also invest in training. Jobs should not simply expect experience, they should help build it. So we must ask, what is truly best for college students when it comes to work? It is preparation, yes. It is opportunity, yes, but it's also access. You cannot work at an internship if you cannot afford to get to it. Transportation is not separate from workforce development, it is foundational to it. If a student can't afford the train, they cannot get to the internship. That is why I urge the City Council to fund the CUNY University Student Senate free OmniCard student commuter grant pilot program and to fulfill CUNY's 700,000 requests from the city to launch it. This is not simply a transportation initiative, it is a workforce access initiative. It ensures that opportunity is not limited by an OmniCard balance. CUNY students are ready to work, lead, and build futures for ourselves and families. Thank you.
Good afternoon, chairs and members of the Committee of the Higher Education and Workforce Development. My name is Rhoda Wilson, and I currently serve as the Vice Chair of Legislative Affairs at the CUNY University Student Senate, representing over 240,000 students across 26 campuses. I am also a student at the College of Staten Island, majoring in communications with a concentration in digital media and design. As an immigrant student, CUNY has served as a beacon of affordability and community that has provided me and many others quality education that I don't believe that I would have had the opportunity to experience outside of the university and my home college. For over 170 years, the CUNY system has built up a worldwide reputation for being the stepping stone for students in climbing up the socioeconomics class structure through the many resources and opportunities available. As we know, CUNY students aren't just students. A lot of us are parents, either just starting out their families or searching for a means of security to help protect their families. Some are part time and full time workers. A lot of them work more than one job to make ends meet. And on top of all of that, our students still find a way to fit in advocacy and showing up for their community into their busy lives and schedules. To our students, CUNY serves as a pathway into affordability. We further our education in order to gain the experience needed to move forward in life and join the workforce. Most of our students tend to give back through means of joining the city workforce. However, it has become increasingly harder for students after graduation to obtain the security of a city job. The current feeling within campuses is a struggle and fear of finding permanent, steady employment after graduation. A lot of students have struggled through their college career with finding internships, especially those pertaining to their majors. Therefore, missing out on core hands on experience within working spaces and their fields, affecting their overall college experience and desirable skills for employers. We must invest in making sure our students are well prepared to give back to our city through raising barriers that allow access to internships, mentorships, fellowships. Embedding work experience into curriculum and strengthening CUNY's relationship with city based employers are a must in working towards a better future for all. Investing in the preparation of is important, but so is investing in easing the access of transportation that will help ensure students access to work opportunities throughout the five boroughs. Accessible, access to affordable transportation should not be a wall that deters students from spreading all around our city, sharing their skills for the betterment of society. Many of us that do rely on the MTA travel long distances that can sometimes go up to a 2 hour long commute, just to get to class and internship slash work opportunities. Using public transportation is a necessity for us. However, the ever increasing fears for the buses and trains, commuter costs have become an extremely unbearable burden for our students. I believe that the pressing issue of transportation affordability can be addressed by CUNY through your support of the University Student Senate's free OmniCard student commuter grant pilot program to fund free OmniCards for CUNY students. Access to transportation is access to education. A student who cannot afford an OmniCard cannot attend class. A student who cannot afford to travel cannot take an internship, participate in research, or engage in civic life and personal life. Without reliable and affordable transportation, students are forced to make impossible choices. Do I go to class today, or do I save that swipe for work so I can afford rent? This is a daily reality for too many CUNY students and is one that New York City and state have the power to change. CUNY has long been the engine of social mobility for New York's working class and immigration communities. Investing in CUNY is investing in New York's future. It is essential. We urge you to fund the free Omni cards for CUNY students and continue investing in policies that remove barriers to education for the sake and betterment of our city and country. The return on investment is clear. When students can afford to access their education, they graduate, they contribute to the economy, and they strengthen our state. Thank you so much for giving me your time, and I look forward to working together so that we can ensure that every CUNY student gets the support they need. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say good afternoon and thank you so much for the committees on workforce development and higher education for this opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Demir Shavkatov, and I'm a proud Brooklyn College student and the vice chair for senior college affairs for the CUNY University Student Senate, representing over 160,000 students across our 11 CUNY schools. For CUNY students, aligning higher education with workforce demand is not just a policy phrase, it is a daily reality. Many of us are full-time students, part-time workers, caretakers, as well as commuters, and first-generation students, and in many cases, the primary source of income for our families. We are already in the workforce, but the real question is whether our time at CUNY intentionally prepares us for stable career track jobs in New York City's growing industries, or if we are left to figure it out on our own. Right now, too many opportunities function like a lottery. If you're in the right campus and the right major linked to the right program, you may get access to structured pathways, internships, mentorship, as well as industry aligned coursework. I want to ground this experience of students I represent whose identities I will keep anonymous. One student is in the first in his family to attend college and lives in a crowded apartment with relatives. They work night in service jobs and attend classes during the day, hoping to enter the healthcare field. Despite strong grades, they have no clear pathway from classroom to career, and unpaid internships are simply not an option when missing shift means missing rent. Another student spends over 2 hours each way commuting on multiple trains because they cannot afford to live closer to campus. As a result, they regularly miss class and key campus events, including recruiting sessions and networking opportunities that are simply not scheduled with commuter students in mind. A third student, a computer science major at a campus without a flagship tech pipeline, watches their peers at private institutions receive structured mentorship and interview prep while they rely on sporadic club events and mass job applications. To change this, we need city support that turns isolated opportunities into a consistent, accessible system. We urge you to invest in expanding career service capacity across all community campuses so that every student has access to individualized guidance, employer connection, and career relevant programming, regardless of their major or even location. We also ask you to support the CUNY University Student Senate's priorities, like funding free OmniCards pilot program so that students can reliably reach class, jobs, and internships, and strengthening CUNY Cares and related basic needs so that housing and food insecurity do not force students to choose between survival and career development. These investments increase accessibility for low income, working, and commuter students and ensure that CUNY's promises of social mobility is matched by clear, supported pathways by New York City workforce. Thank you for your time and your commitment to CUNY students.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the Committees on Higher Education and Workforce Development for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Benjamin Wade, and I'm a student at John Jay College, and I represent the University Student Senate. CUNY is often called the engine of social mobility, but for that engine to function, the gears between the classroom and the workforce must actually connect. Currently, that connection is slipping. The gap between our education and the careers that we seek is widening, and it is the students who are paying the price for that friction. The city has the data and knows what works. When students are paired with actual industry mentors and startups, they are 3 times more likely to have a job upon graduation. This is not theory. This is proven return on investment for our city. Yet we treat these programs like boutiques, exclusive programs that only serve a fraction of our students. We cannot properly address minority unemployment in this city while at the same time CUNY's most effective career pipelines, such as the CUNY 2X Tech, remain gated off from the majority of our campuses. We need a system that is accessible to many, not just exceptional for a few. We are past the point of handshakes and promises, and we are here for investment and commitment. This is why I would like for the City Council to help scale the CUNY 2X Tech model because we need this pipeline expanded immediately into specific industries such as healthcare, finance, and the green economy. It is time to increase accessibility and treat this program like the city's critical economic infrastructure that it is. Furthermore, I would like to ask the city to help us advocate for $4.6 million to expand the CUNY Cares to all 5 boroughs within the city. It is because these workforce pipelines are only as effective as they should be when built on a stable foundation. We need a university-wide expansion of CUNY Cares to address food and housing insecurity that threatens retention rates before students ever even reach the workforce. Lastly, I would like to urge the City Council to help CUNY fulfill its $700,000 request to launch a free OmniCard pilot program through the University Student Senate OmniCard Student Commuter Grant Pilot Program, because you simply cannot work a job that you cannot afford to get to. If you want a city that works, you have to invest in students who are doing the work. Don't just give us a degree and a handshake. Give us the gears to move our city forward. Thank you for your time and commitment to CUNY students.
Thank you. I have one question for each of you. When you started at CUNY, did you expect to be prepared to enter the workforce and get a good paying job upon graduation, or are you on track to do that?
I'm sorry, may you please repeat the question?
Absolutely. Are you on track? Did you when you started at CUNY, did you expect to be prepared to enter the workforce and get a good paying job upon graduation? Are you on track to do that?
So I did expect CUNY with the means of being able to get a job, a well-paying job after I graduate, and I believe that I am on track of doing that. However, I also realize that it's important for students to know where or what resources the end goal ends up being able to provide you, because I realize that a lot of students they end up trying to have access to jobs that they are able to get, but then once they reach that position, they realize that the pay or the wage isn't enough, or there's not enough benefits for them to utilize once they reach that position. So I hope that the career that I'm looking to get into does also support me in that way.
And what I'll say is, when I started CUNY, I expected, because it's in New York City, one of the largest economies in the world, I expected I would get one of the top jobs on Wall Street, or let's say, somewhere in Midtown. Um, However, I soon realized that that was not the case, from issues surrounding academic advisement to career advisement, that support was really lacking and in some cases still is. And I am still confident though, because CUNY, we do have a great community of people who really want to see each student succeed. However, some of the systems just sadly don't work. And I'm hoping those things get fixed. So I'm more leaning towards being confident now that, I'm going to graduate and everything will work out. But I do see when I started, that optimism I had, it kind of dwindled.
Um, when I started as a freshman in college, I was actually not sure what I wanted to do or what my end result was. I was pushed into it. I knew I wanted to go to college, but I was pushed into going specifically to the College of Staten Island by my mother to just stay within the family. And I started out as a computer science major, and I remember my first semester being one of my worst semesters because I wasn't sure how I would get to the path of game design, which was what I originally wanted to do, aside from transferring over to communications, and just the fear of not having someone to talk to, or either my advisor not knowing fully a lot about my major. That was pretty hard, even though I am an ASAP student and I did have my advisor more handy than the rest of the other students, which I am thankful for. But that was a struggle for me. But thankfully, I was able to find centers on campus that guided me through changing my major and finding something I'm more comfortable with. Most especially, like the Women's Center on my campus was a big help.
For my part, coming into college, I didn't expect to like be geared towards that. I only thought that college provides education and not really workforce development. But as a college freshman, I did an internship in the career launch, CUNY Career Launch, and last summer I did an internship at Aon, just like 3 blocks from here. But there are students who know that this is very competitive, and I'm speaking on behalf of them because they don't have necessarily resources for them to go to their career center, get their resume checked, cover letter, as well as do mock job interviews, which are really important for to get a job after graduation. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. Timothy Cesare and Gregory Morris.
Hello, good morning. Think you can hear me well? Yeah, okay.
I can hear you.
So I feel like a bit of an outsider because obviously I'm not a CUNY school, St. Francis College, but we do share some of the same issues. As a matter of fact, many of the same issues. And I have learned quite a bit today just listening, and hopefully some of what I'll share with you today will be helpful as well, because we do share the same communities, the same employers, the same issues. So I appreciate this opportunity, Madam Chair and Council, to share this with you. So, good morning. Today I come before you as the president of St. Francis College, a 160 years young institution rooted in faith and mission that transcends classrooms, laboratories, and textbooks. In deep consideration of this new era of accelerated technological innovations, this committee is right to inquire how St. Francis College is preparing students for relevant and sustainable careers. Guided by timeless Franciscan values through shifting societal norms, coupled with the knock-on effect of economic volatility, we equip students to successfully navigate this journey with Magellan-like determination. The response to your inquiry lies not in our traditional curriculum or modality trends, but in our unique approach to blending faith, family, community, investment, and progressive common sense. By progressive common sense, I mean the nurturing of the uniquely human aspiration to gather information, form ideas, eliminate impediments, and bring an end to imposed pain and suffering while respecting the integrity of a collective and civilized society in harmony with individual rights. An example of this is our current 12-part LinkedIn series on accessibility and accommodation strategies, tools, and techniques for students and adults dealing with challenges of physical disabilities. This series is compiled in collaboration with our recent graduate, Jessica, who was born with cerebral palsy and has spent her entire life in a wheelchair. We share her lived experience and the experiences of others in her network with the general population. Jessica is a great writer, and talent is a limited resource. Talent is a limited resource. So we must create pathways for all to participate in forming a more perfect and just society. St. Francis College has no fewer than 15 mental health counselors addressing the psychological and emotional struggles that many in our society are facing. Mental health care is foundational to managing the daily rigors required for a college degree. Just to put that in perspective, we've got 1,700 or so undergraduate students and 15 mental health counselors. So those ratios are fairly favorable for the students, and it's working. A word on faith and technology. Our faith foundation contextualizes human technological advancements as gifts from God. In a world where the impact of AI dominates headlines, our students are taught that technology is not bad, but people can be bad at technology when they act without ethics and integrity. AI and blockchain infrastructure hold the potential to cure cancer, feed the hungry, house the homeless, foster world peace, save our environment, democratize education, and create the blueprint of a better world. At the same time, it can destroy, corrupt, reduce, isolate, and marginalize entire populations. The choice of how we effectuate technology is ours. Through courses integrating our faith and values with business, science, and the arts, we openly contemplate these obvious contradictions: profit versus compassion, morality versus innovation, and philosophy versus routines of daily living. It is our belief that employers will highly value this combination of soft skills like empathy and compassion with decision-making qualities requiring abstract thinking and cost-benefit analysis. These skills in particular are crucial to advancing from entry-level to more senior level positions across the board. By embedding faith and reflection, we cultivate resilience. Our students do not fear change, they help shape it, which flips uncertainty over to opportunity. In 2023, St. Francis College took a closer look at the education we provided to our students, the community, our hospital partners, and our corporate partners. We identified our true role within the context of these systems. We are clearly not outside of these systems, and our outcomes are not separate. Our tuition had to align with the economic realities of our students' return on the investment in their education, and our orientation needed to shift from leading with liberal arts to liberal arts and humanities, accompanying, assisting, informing, and guiding more hardwired college-level disciplines across nursing, radiology, accounting, computer science, and on and on. At first, our professors resisted, and this is understandable because for a very long time, the world was perfectly suited and in urgent need of their expertise as leading disciplines. Accordingly, we explored the workforce needs of the local and global communities and worked backwards to develop students that fit those needs, rather than presenting what we traditionally taught and then saying to the community, good luck to you and the students. Soon it became obvious that our success aligns with this important shift. Our liberal arts core now emphasizes critical thinking, communication, and problem-solving skills as they relate to career success. Indeed, we teach digital humanities paired with internships as students gain experiential learning in fields like healthcare, technology, accounting, computer science, science security, healthcare informatics, and on. We combined our academic advising department with our career development department. It's all one because it leads to the same goal, an education leading to a career. It's the same conversation. Lastly, I would like to discuss the cost of a college education. It is my hope that very soon, independent colleges like mine can move past the price tag discount game plaguing so many graduates who have paid for degrees that are unmarketable. They have loans they cannot repay, totaling $1.8 trillion nationally, which, by the way, is more than twice the U.S. military budget and growing. In the end, it's the colleges that got the money, not the students. Students feel betrayed by universities with glossy marketing materials and contrived mission statements that prioritize romance over return on investment. The out-of-pocket cost of a college education for the average working-class student needs to be commensurate with the expected income level derived by the degree, if finances and college choice are of a concern for the student and their family, and most are. We recently received an independent data recognition by the American Council on Education and the Carnegie Foundation recognizing St. Francis College for exemplary demonstration of alignment with mission, workforce readiness, and accreditation standards, translating to higher access, higher earnings, and better outcomes. I would ask that the next inquiry investigation is why colleges charge what they charge for a four-year degree and how that is reconciled with the amount of government assistance their students receive. I welcome my colleagues at private universities to join us in this tuition conversation. Lastly, I just want to say that on economies of scale, I'm about 3% your size. So I know that some things are possible where I am, but the ideas and the concepts, I believe, are very translatable. And one of the things I always say is, you can't scale complexity, you can only scale simplicity. And a lot of the testimony I heard today sounded very complex, and I don't know if you can scale that level of complexity. So thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for this time. My name is Greg Morris. I'm the CEO of the New York City Employment and Training Coalition. Chair Joseph, it's great to see you. We are the largest workforce development association in the country. We have workforce development providers in the room. We also have folks online. Our communications channel encouraging folks to be present in this conversation. I know that there are folks online and continue to be online listening in today. We want to thank the council for the launch of the Workforce Development Committee, and that the Higher Ed Committee and the Workforce Development Committee worked together in this at this time was critical, valuable, important, and extraordinarily meaningful. I'm not going to do my testimony that's already been submitted online. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to kind of pivot a little bit to a couple things that maybe we didn't get to talk about or questions that weren't quite asked during the course of the hearing that I think would be beneficial to lean in on. And first I'll say this, Chair Joseph, as well as other council members, you've been part of the convenings, the briefings, the roundtables that we do in our communications channel. We had our last conference in December. We had 400 workforce development providers in the room. We had 1,000 people watching online. Our theme of that conference was affordability is workforce policy. And the opening speakers on both days, it was the SUNY chancellor one day and the CUNY chancellor the next day, because we know that CUNY and the private college space is an engine. I just want to note a couple of things. When we talk about workforce development, job training, work readiness, it may be beneficial for us to reframe that as an employer solution. And by being an employer solution, we can support individual economic mobility and the city's economic growth. And that's very important at this particular moment as it aligns with worker rights and economic justice, which I know this administration is focused on. I also want to highlight the intersectionality of the conversation that has taken place today with panelists and your guests. We've talked about everything from K-12 education to higher education to the green economy. We've talked about transportation. We've talked about healthcare. We've talked about Omni cards. Workforce development is really a conversation that's a bit of a triangle. It's training, it's career advancement, it's those supportive services that allow folks to stay in place. But none of that happens without employer investment and being an employer solution. I also want to note the audiences that we didn't talk about today who we should be particularly worried about. Young adults who are out of school, out of work. We didn't get to talk about that today. Folks who need to reskill and upskill. CUNY touched on that, but there are a lot of New Yorkers who need additional skills, especially those in labor. Those with unique vulnerabilities, who are resilient but need more individual focused attention. These are the providers that our 220 organizations focus their energy on. We also didn't get to talk about work requirements related to SNAP, which are going to launch in full in New York City shortly. That's going to be very challenging. We scratched the surface on stop outs. We need to do more of that, meaning folks who have credits but not enough to graduate. We need to get back to that. The last couple things I'll say, resourcing the pathway to a career is going to require this council to invest. And if you look at discretionary funding over the course of time, workforce development has not received much movement, and folks have had a very hard time breaking into that. Our Putting Our Dollars to Work report, which I think will be a good complement to the CUF report, tells the story of where dollars have gone in this administration, largely to DYCD and SYEP, which is a great outlet, but only a handful of those folks find career pathways. The last thing I'll say is this. I have great admiration and respect for the NYC talent team, the CUNY team. Vice Chancellor Anderson is phenomenal. I just will say this about the NYC talent team. You noted it. They have a $2.7 million budget and they have to wrangle 30 programs within 24 agencies. I would suggest to you that's a tremendous lift and something that this council needs to think about when it comes to urgency, accountability, inclusivity, sustainability. And the last note that we didn't cover, which you, I'm sure, will want to have in a future hearing, is Workforce Pell, which is a pathway to folks getting access to dollars that would allow them to get the training credentials they need. And CUNY, I know, is trying to figure that out in relation to the state and the feds. I know you will champion that conversation because it's a tremendous pathway for New Yorkers, whether their future is all about teaching or any of the other ways in which folks find good careers in New York City. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I do agree. And we didn't even get a chance to touch on our vulnerable population, our students in foster care. And you know, that's a population
100%.
I'm very
I know.
homeless, our homeless youth, and also our vulnerable. So we didn't get a chance to touch on. I'm sure Regina was already planning our next hearing on those topics. So we will definitely touch. But I wanted today to be the start of a conversation that hasn't happened in a long time. So this is the start of a conversation, and we want to continue to build and work with you, St. Francis. That's my alma mater, so I'm a little biased.
Shout out to St. Francis, of course.
I'm a little biased, but I'm looking forward not to just leave St. Francis out, but to include you in this conversation along with CUNY and SUNY, because we are doing the same work. The pipeline come from the same source. So definitely have to include you in conversation.
You mentioned you were big on data, and so am I.
Yes.
We share many students back and forth as transfers with the CUNY system. One thing I'd like to see is the success rate of students who transfer from St. Francis to CUNY, 4-year, 6-year graduation, as opposed to students who transfer from CUNY to St. Francis. What's the difference?
Correct.
What's working? What's not working?
Absolutely.
And with the, if I just may say one more thing, you mentioned you have 250,000 some odd students in the CUNY system. LinkedIn has 1 billion global users, profiles, 250 million right in the United States. LinkedIn would love to get your data on your students, create profiles of what your students are majoring in and learning, do a study with employers to see how that aligns. They'll get new unique users, and you'll get the benefit of a job stream and data and information on how to place and teach students. Because as you mentioned, the employers need to come to you as well. So matching that together, though, that amount of data would be incredible because it is the currency of employment, mostly in the United States.
Yes, thank you.
I just want to add, it's our college network, it's our tremendous workforce development providers, it's our on the ground folks that are really economic mobility hubs, and they're the economic engines that support communities, neighborhoods, and individuals. And I look forward to standing with you and the folks that have been in the room and the coalition that's on this call and listening into this hearing to work with you to ensure
Absolutely.
that all these pathways are in place, no matter what someone's starting point is.
Yep, I agree, 1,000%. Thank you both. Thank you so much. On Zoom, Kalani Lafer.
You may begin.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you all. My name is Kalani Leifer. I'm the CEO of Co-op Careers, a nonprofit I founded in New York City in 2014. I'm also a proud alum of Lehman College and CUNY, the greatest urban university in the world. Over the last decade, Co-op has supported more than 10,000 first-generation and low-income college graduates on their journey from underemployment to upward mobility. I began my own career as a high school history teacher in the Bronx. I taught my students that if they work hard, played by the rules, and earned a bachelor's degree, they would secure a foothold in the middle class. Many did exactly that. They completed college, often the first in their families to do so, only to face constant rejection in the white-collar job market. My students did everything we asked of them, but they have not realized the promise of higher education. Today in New York City, nearly 1 in 5 college graduates faces material hardship, such as food or housing insecurity. Nationally, 1 million Pell-eligible students earn a bachelor's degree each year. 1 year later, more than half are underemployed, working in low-wage roles that don't require the degree they just earned. A decade later, 3 in 4 of those underemployed graduates remain stuck in underemployment. First-gen graduates and Pell Grant recipients are far more likely to fall into the underemployment trap. In other words, those with the most riding on the college degree are the least likely to see the payoff. This is not a failure of aspiration or effort, it's a structural gap. While we have rightly expanded access to higher education, no institution currently owns the transition from college to career. Higher education was not designed or funded to ensure career attachment after graduation. As a result, the burden of the transition falls to graduates and their personal networks, reinforcing inequities that the city has worked so hard to address through its college access and persistence efforts. Co-op has demonstrated young folks can overcome underemployment with the right skills and relationships in the critical years after graduation. Underemployed graduates who participate in our intensive fellowship secure college-level employment at more than twice the rate of their peers. The challenge is not creating a solution, but designing a public system that can scale it. But there's some good news, as Eli shared. Beginning this fall, our federal government will take an important step in that direction. Eligible college graduates will be able to use remaining Pell Grant funds for short-term workforce-aligned credentials, creating a real pathway to connect degrees
Time
to
expired.
durable All right, I'll leave it there. But really excited for the city to focus on workforce Pell.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We look forward to working with you and hearing more of your ideas. So thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom? If you are, raise your hands so Sergeant of Arms can call on you. I see no hands. Thank you all for joining us today, and I conclude this hearing.